It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Leo Laporte. Coming up, I'll explain what this 32-bit float thing is and whether you need it.
And I'm Mikah Sargent, and Leo Laporte and I help Mace Windu de-Google his life.
Plus a visit from Bill Nye, the science guy. It's all coming up next on Ask the Tech Guys.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Ask the Tech Guys with Mikah Sargent and Leo Laporte. Episode 1965, recorded Sunday, March 12th, 2023. Wet and funky. Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by Melissa. More than 10,000 clients worldwide in retail, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, and government rely on Melissa for full-spectrum data quality and ID verification software. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Thanks for listening to this show. As an ad-supported network, we are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise@twit.tv and launch your campaign now. Well, hey, how are you today? It's time, yes indeed, for Ask the Tech Guys. Hello, Mikah Sargent.
Hello, Leo Laporte.
You look fabulous.
Oh,
maybe it's that new giant screen TV that you've got.
Yeah, I've actually been tanning from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice.
We did a TV trade because I went out and got a new TV, the QD OLED that Scott Wilkinson was talking about, the latest, greatest technology. It's really bright.
Which brand?
Samsung
QD
77-incher. And then that meant I had this giant 100-inch projector just hanging around. So you came over in a Sprinter van and loaded it up and you set it up and it's all good.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was a process, and but it's all up on the wall now, and it looks great.
You know who's not here today?
Who's that? Oh,
Aunt Pruitt got an extra hour of sleep today. Actually, we got an extra hour. We got an hour less of sleep because we set our clocks forward. When will this madness end? Mexico this year is for the first time not going to switch. I have a feeling that this is going to be sweeping the globe eventually because it's a nutty idea to change the clock.
absolutely. And we've got a bill waiting.
Marco Rubio put a bill in. Now, there's some debate. Should we, like my wife says, let's stay on daylight saving time.
Which one to do?
So California already had an initiative, a ballot initiative, in which we said we want to change, but the way it works, the federal government has to say yes because you're effectively changing your time zone.
Right.
Your time zone is standard time, and you can't change your time zone unilaterally as a state or an individual. Although I'm very tempted just to say I'm going to stay on saving time.
Right, I don't care what all the rest of y'all are
You
doing.
all can change any. Arizona, Hawaii, they don't do it. Except for the Navajo Nation, they do it. It's a very confusing thing. Anyway, for those of you who are watching right now, congratulations. Your computer figured out how to change the clock, or your phone. There's 3 clocks in my house I have to go around and manually change.
Yeah.
The microwave, the oven,
Same.
and the clock in the gym.
Okay,
Which
so
is
not
just
too
a
many.
clock. Because I mostly buy clocks that sync up.
Your cuckoo clock too.
Oh, I had to change that too.
Yeah.
You're right. 4 clocks.
Why does he know that? I was there to get a projector. Remember?
He noted my cuckoo clock. Actually, there's a lot of levity, but there shouldn't be, because a very serious thing happened in the United States this week. Very abruptly, the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. Should I play there's 2 different clips we could play, both of which will get us taken down from YouTube immediately. One is Bart Simpson creating a run on the bank. Mm-hmm. And the other is, of course, with Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. Well, your money's not here, Mr. Potter. It's over in Harry's house. You built Harry's house, and his. So you remember.
Just imagine them in your
Imagine,
head.
if you will. Bart created a run on the bank by just going to the bank saying, "Boy, that bank's out of money. They don't have any more money? Oh no!" And everybody runs. And this is what a run in the bank is. It's a panic.
Yeah, and that's what this story is, right? It was improper communication, right? For the most part.
It's complicated. We're gonna get some financial experts, some financial wizards. I know you later in the week will have some on Tech News Weekly. Man, Twitter was full of hot takes all weekend, many of which were probably misguided. But here's my understanding from talking to experts of what actually happened. So Silicon Valley Bank, which is a regular everyday bank, number 18 bank in the nation, billions on deposit, but it also catered to startups and Silicon Valley, because of the name and the cachet, we're kind of hip. But they had a problem other banks don't have, which is the way startups work. They get a pile of money in the beginning from venture capital. They have to put that in the bank because they're going to spend it over time.
Okay.
The way a normal bank would work, you, Mikah Sargent, would open a checking account and dribble your pathetic little paycheck into it every month or every week. And then you might come to the bank and borrow as to buy a house, a mortgage. Mm-hmm. So banks, typically expect small amounts of cash and loans that they can give out. But Silicon Valley Bank had a problem. Its customers didn't need loans. They had a lot of cash. So they didn't take out loans. They just put a ton of cash in the bank. So that's problem number one. It was kind of a different customer base. And I should mention that the FDIC insures deposits in a bank up to $250,000, $250,000. So if your bank defaults, as SVB did, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation will make sure you get your money. So all the people who are under $250,000 depositors, like you with your pathetic little paycheck,
right,
you'll get your money back. Problem is, remember the investors with the big cash,
huge amounts of money,
billions of dollars. Roku, what did Roku say? 56% of their money was in SVB. Billions.
That's more than $250,000.
Etsy just sent out a notice to Etsy sellers, hey, we are not going to be able to get you your checks for a while because the money was in the Silicon Valley Bank. There will be trickle-down effects. There are thousands of startups who maybe won't be able to make payroll because they had more than $250,000 in there. They won't get their money back right away. The other problem that happened was, here you have a bank with lots of cash and that nobody wants to borrow. You have to put that money, as the bank, you have to put that money somewhere. They did what they thought was the smart, safe thing. They put it in treasury bills, T-bills, government-backed securities, very safe. But the interest rate was less than 1% when they did it. Because the Federal Reserve has been raising the interest rates, those federal bonds are worth nothing, right? You can't sell them to anybody except for 60 cents on the dollar, 70 cents on the dollar, because right now I can get a T-bill for a lot more. So they got upside down. They had a lot of money. They had to put it somewhere. If you're a bank, you can't put it in another bank. So they invested it, and normally you'd invest it in loans, but nobody wanted to borrow money from them, not many anyway. So then as the interest rates went up, they got in a more precarious position. And then the final straw was Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, which is a venture capital firm. He wrote a note on, I think, Wednesday night or Thursday to his startups, all the startups he'd invested in, say, take your money out of Silicon Valley Bank. It's not safe.
Wow.
And that triggered the run. So that's what happened is, that's the Bart Simpson going in, the bank doesn't have any money. And that triggered the run. And, of course, a lot of startups thinking this is going to be bad on Thursday morning, tried to wire as much money as they could out of there. Some succeeded, most failed. And it turns out about 95% of the deposits at the Silicon Valley Bank are above $250,000 and are not insured. FDIC came in. The bank has been taken over by the government. The federal government came in, took it over on Friday, and has guaranteed those depositors of $250,000 or less will get your money tomorrow. But it's going to take a while. I don't know if people will lose money. That's unclear. Janet Yellen was on the Sunday morning news programs this morning and was kind of reluctant to say much. She essentially said what you'd expect, which is, well, depositors under $250,000, you're going to get your money back. The rest of you, we're going to get your money back, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. So the real concern is tomorrow morning. And this is something everybody might be impacted. And we don't know what's going to happen, but there is a risk, as is always with a run on the bank, when a bank collapses, especially a big bank like Silicon Valley Bank, that others go to their bank and say, you know what, I want my money. But as Jimmy Stewart said, we don't have your money. It's been lent out to Mikah for his mortgage, right? It's been lent out. Even with those T-bills, you can't get it right away because there's a term. 10-year. I think a lot of their investments are 10-year terms. So if you go to your bank and say, I want all my cash, they can do that for some people, but they have to keep some reserves. I can't remember what the percentage is. It's higher than it used to be after 2008. But I think it's, I don't know, 5, 10, 20%, whatever it is. We'll find out tonight. But so they can pay out that much, but they don't have money in the vault.
Right.
So that's a run on the bank. If everybody, all the depositors say, give me my money, the bank has to go close its doors. Remember, in It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart started taking money. I wish we had that clip. See if you can find that clip. I think we could play that. He started taking money out of his own pocket and said, look, I can't give you all your money back. But how much do you need to get by?
Wow.
I'll take $17.50. Oh, bless your heart. And so they're watching the clock till it's 5 p.m. and they can legally shut the doors, because if you shut the door before the closing time, I don't know, something bad happens. So they made it 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, whoa, we made it. Right?
Wow.
So anyway, that's all I know about runs on banks is from It's a Wonderful Life and Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson. So that's not a really good education. But it's potentially catastrophic. What it will impact, and if you're on Twitter at all, this is unfortunate, but you have to kind of go to Twitter to see what's going on. Everybody, a lot of startups are saying, "Oh, we're not going to make payroll." This trickles down to normal people. Mm-hmm. We're not gonna be able to pay people. Etsy's not going to be able to pay sellers. So we don't know how bad this will be until maybe tomorrow, when the bank opens for business, and we see. But it could be catastrophic. We are going to get Jason Calacanis, who has been, his hair has been on fire all weekend. He's been tweeting in caps all weekend. We're going to get him on Twit this afternoon about 4 o'clock Pacific. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask the Tech Guys on a very interesting day. That's all we'll say about SVB. I invited quite a few people, including Om Malik, who's been writing about this. A good piece on GigaOM. I guess his blog is now ohm.co. If you're interested, he has some very powerful things to say. Jason tweeted, all in caps, Scooter X has put this in our Discord. This is not one you need from people like Jason. All in caps. On Monday, 100,000 Americans will be lined up at their regional bank demanding their money. Most will not get it. This went from Silicon Valley insiders on Thursday to middle class on Saturday. Main Street finds out Monday. This is how you have a run on the bank. That is not the way to calm things down.
Right.
Your money is safe. Mr. Potter will give you 50 cents of the dollar, but I trust Jimmy Stewart.
Right.
Your money's safe. Anyway, we hope. I'm not taking my money out of my bank. I'm
leaving my money alone.
Leave your money in your bank. But it probably is a good thing for normal people to note that you're insured, but only up to $250,000.
Yeah.
You can't expect somebody who just got, $100 million in a venture fund to spread it out over 20 different, or 40 different banks.
Right, yeah.
So, you could. I remember in the early days of Microsoft, they were making so much money, and they didn't really have a CFO or anybody to invest it. They didn't know what to do with it. They just bought CDs, certificates of deposit, bank CDs, and they just had hundreds and hundreds of bank CDs. Wow. Eventually, though, a company gets big like Microsoft, you have somebody who's investing it and doing something with the money. All right. This is a show where we take your calls. Calls come into call.twit.tv. What that'll do, and do that on your phone. Just go in your browser and you enter call.twit.tv, and that'll either open Zoom if you already have Zoom on the phone. Otherwise, you can't do it in the browser. We say that just because you got a microphone and you got a camera on your phone that probably works.
Yeah.
But you can do it at your desktop if you know what you're doing. Call.twit.tv. You can also send us emails. We have, I am told, 3, maybe 4 video emails. We'll get to as many as we can at askthetechguys@twit.tv. Let's start. Ray's been sitting very patiently. We're going to move Ray into the lobby, or out of the lobby, into my heart, and get our first question of the day. Mikah, Sargent, and Leo Laporte. Ask the Tech Guys. Ask something, Ray. Hello, Ray.
I'm not hearing him.
Oh, we can see ya.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Ray.
Thanks, Leo.
Welcome.
Thanks, Mikah.
Thanks for hanging on.
I'm not sure if you saw my chat, but I took advantage of the T-Mobile Tuesday deal for the MLS pass.
Yeah.
Yearly pass or whatever they call it. And so I set that up on my iPad from which I'm calling you now. And but when I went to, and I have the AV adapter that Apple sells, the digital AV adapter. And so I launched one of the games yesterday, tried to hook it up to, I hooked up to my OLED 55-inch C. I think it's what it is, an LG. Nice TV, got it for the Super Bowl, basically.
Good choice.
And so the live games play on the iPad, obviously, but when I hooked it up through the adapter to the TV, periodically it would shut down saying content couldn't load. Sometimes the message was the display that you got it hooked up to
it's copy
is illegal.
It's copy
HDCP.
protected. So what you want to, unfortunately, there's really only one way to do this, which is to get an Apple TV. If you had an Apple TV built into the display, which you might, a lot of modern TVs do, LG might. So look. Yeah, but if not,
I have the old Apple TV, but not a new Apple TV.
Yeah, because you want 4K, right? So there are a couple of ways to do this. Of course, you could put MLS on your Apple TV. It's part of the Apple TV Plus subscription. So you could do that, or you could AirPlay from your iPad.
Exactly. Lots
Apple
of
TV.
modern LG TVs have AirPlay too.
Yeah, I tried that, but it looked like crap.
So of course this paranoia is everywhere, and so the copy protection won't let you hook up an HDMI cable to a TV because they think you're somehow stealing it.
Right.
I should explain what this is because we mentioned it on Mac Break Weekly on Tuesday. You have till March 14th if you're a T-Mobile customer with like a full, I don't remember what's the T-Mobile One account. You get a free
Magenta or something.
Magenta, something like that. You get a free 1-year subscription to Apple TV Plus's MLS.
Oh, nice.
Major League Soccer. Yeah, I did it. And it's good because I probably wouldn't have paid for it, but and I watched it the other night. It looks good and everything, but I watched it on an Apple TV. So, is there any way around that?
So the problem too is basically when you are AirPlaying, you are using part of your internet bandwidth, your local Wi-Fi router bandwidth. And so you were trying to have something stream into the iPhone, and then the iPhone's trying to also stream that to the device. So that's causing it to be at the quality that you're seeing. If you had an iPad or something like that where you could get actual Ethernet into it and then stream it that way, that would work. But yeah, unfortunately, doing that AirPlay, in fact, there are some times where AirPlay 2 will just kind of stop actually loading the content if it's too big, if it's too much of a
but look on your TV, because I think since you just got it, it should have the Apple TV app on it. You know how
that's true too.
Yeah, you know how your TV has those apps. Look and see if you've got the Apple TV app. If that does, then you install MLS on that. It's not as good as an Apple TV, but at least it'll give you that capability. You should be able to watch it.
Yeah, this was through the Apple TV app on the iPad.
But there's one on your TV is what I'm saying.
Oh, I understand. No, I understand that, yeah. What I had to do yesterday is, and it was really frustrating, is I would play it on the iPad, and then I would see it play on the iPad, and I would punch in the AV adapter, and then it would show up on the TV for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then somehow some error came up and it said the content can't pass the content, or your display is illegal.
There's one other, it's HDCP. It's the copy protection.
It's frustrating that it shows up for a second there, because then you're going, well, why can I see it then?
They go, hey, wait a minute, he's pirating this. Turn it off. There is one thing you probably could do. Whenever we buy HDMI converters from Amazon, they don't say strips out HDCP, but almost all of them do.
Yeah.
So it's an HDMI splitter. Is that what it is, Benito? Okay. So we have a bunch of them, and we've discovered that I believe all of them,
That's true.
because they're made in China, right? And they're not going to support it. Darn it. So that's another thing you can do. It won't say it because it's illegal. It's a violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act to remove copy protection. But in fact, these HDMI, so it's a Benito, there it is. It's a splitter. And so it's HDMI, and then it has a couple of HDMIs out. HDMI in. And that, believe it or not, may solve your problem. They're $12. They're not expensive. Because in our experience, although unbilled, this is an unbilled capability of almost all HDMI splitters, is we don't need to pass along that copy protection stuff. That's in America. So that's
what's interesting is because I saw the Super Bowl a month ago. That's the reason why you bought the TV, and I had the Fox app, and I was watching it through the Fox app, and it didn't have an issue with this. So I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of licensing agreement with MLS.
Probably is,
yeah, almost certainly. And plus, we know that MLS. What was it? MLS. I was going to say MLB. I know that Apple, when it made all of this technology, they relied on what Major League Baseball had done before this, and so there was you know what I mean. So they're like the best, that sort of the Cadillac of streaming. So they're going to have all that extra stuff that keeps the content safe. Versus the Fox app, which a part of that was Fox wanted as many people as possible to see it
because they were selling advertising.
Exactly. Right. So they weren't as concerned with making sure that HDCP was there.
So here's one of the HDMI splitters we have. So it's got a little power dongle. It's got HDMI in. You take that off the iPad. On the other side, it's got a couple out. And oh look, conveniently, it's labeled HDCP stripper. So that's something we put on because I think we ended up testing a lot of these and we found it doesn't. So that's something that's not widely known. In fact, I would prefer it not. So if President Xi calls, just don't tell him. Yeah, I think a lot of these, and I think that's intentional. I don't think that's accidental. So that's one more thing you can try.
Okay, I have some tools to try. So,
hey, great to talk to you, Ray. Thank you so much for joining us.
And best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. I should point out that I am wearing socks from our third biggest fan, who shall remain nameless because he or she did not tell us, but he or she made you Chihuahua socks.
No, Leo socks.
Oh, I thought it was a Chihuahua. It was me?
Yeah, for some reason it's Leo.
Some other yappy thing. And then I have, can you see him? I have Steve Martin socks. Isn't that cute? Thank you.
Pink Panther.
Third biggest fan. Yeah, you're supposed to wear funny socks. You forgot, didn't you?
I forgot to wear them today, so I need to wash them still.
This is the funny shock. So, well, I didn't wash them, and there were no spiders in it, so I think you're probably okay.
I wouldn't.
All right.
Skin rash.
Kevin is next from, despite Joe Esposito's lobbying, Kevin is next from Las Vegas. But don't worry, Joe. You're coming up. Don't worry. Kevin, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, welcome. Good to talk to you. Thanks for joining Ask the Tech.
Good. Well, I'm hoping everything works out. I've got my iPhone as a continuity camera on my Mac, so it's doing the audio and the video.
And it looks great, and it sounds great.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's great. And I'm still using my Mac to do everything.
You are a Mac geek. I believe it. He's wearing a Mac geek T-shirt.
I'm all Mac all day, everywhere.
Nice.
But I got a couple of quick hits. The main thing, a couple of main things I wanted to do is, of course, thank God Apple finally introduced the classical service through this app.
Hallelujah. I've been saying that everywhere. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So they bought a year and a half ago.
Absolutely.
Prime Phonic, which I was a subscriber to, loved it. Annie Naka was too. I take it you were as well. And they said, oh, don't worry. We bought it, but we're going to bring it back as part of Apple Music. And then nothing for a year and a half. Crickets. And they finally announced the day after I complained about this on Mac Break Weekly, they finally announced that they're going to do it March 28th. You can go to the App Store right now and pre-order it, and it will download. I bet you they do it sooner than March 28th. But people have asked, well, Leah, what do you care? I mean, there's all that music's already on Apple Music. The problem is classical music's very different from pop music. Not only does it have a performer, an orchestra. It has the composer. It has the year. It has the opus number. There's a lot more metadata. And Apple Music doesn't really let you. For instance, one of the things we used to do with Primephonic, which is great, you could say, I want Mozart's The Magic Flute, and then it would show you all the different performances of it, and you could choose the performance that you want, And so that's something really that wasn't well served by Apple Music. I am so thrilled. Plus, I like to go to a classical music app because I know when I ask for something, I'm going to get classical music. So often on Siri, I'll say, it happened the other day. I say, I wanted Vivaldi's The Four Seasons. It gave me Frankie Valli in The Four Seasons.
No.
And it's just not the same. So it'll be nice to have a classical app. I think that'll be good.
Yeah. Well, especially for musicians, because generally, as a pianist, you want to have a specific performance of a piano concerto or a Mozart sonata or whatever it be. You want a specific performer. You want to hear that.
I want Glenn Gould. I don't want no Baron Baum. So so that's exactly right. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah. So thank you, Apple.
I'm debating whether I'm going to do this standalone app.
Well, apparently they haven't said,
or if I'm going to do the Apple One.
I don't think it counts. It costs more.
No, if you have an Apple Music subscription,
you'll get it.
Period. You will get this as part of your Apple Music subscription.
That's nice.
You don't necessarily
Primephonic
need to get
expensive.
Apple One. Yeah.
I think too. I don't yet. I was thinking of doing the Apple One bundle because I have the iCloud 50 gigs and I have Apple TV Plus. So then, just to add
worth it.
music. And have everything.
You could do the math. You get additional stuff. The Fitness Plus stuff on Apple TV is really great
as well. If that's
you get Apple that app, the news app. Well, you get a lot of magazines for free. So I subscribe to one. That's worth it. I think. Yeah.
The other thing I want to mention is I did the cord cutting finally. I got rid of Cox. I've got the Verizon 5G for the router. And I've hooked it up and I've got Apple TV Plus and I have a DVD player and I've hooked it all up and it's working great. The only question I have is about hooking up an Ethernet to the, hello, are we there?
Yes.
Oh, I lost you there for a second. I didn't hear anything. I thought maybe I lost you, but I was wondering if, because I have Ethernet from the router to right now I have it hooked up to the TV, but I can hook it directly to the Apple TV. Is there an advantage one way or another? And if I do that, should I take off the network and not have the Wi-Fi? Is that going to be a problem?
These are kind of separate questions. As far as the Apple TV goes, thinking about Ethernet, it depends on how new your Apple TV is. If you don't have the most recent Apple TV 4K, then you may not want to use the Ethernet port. And that's
really?
Because up until the most recent Apple TV, they have not had gigabit as an option for the port.
I didn't know that.
In many cases, the 802.11 AC ended up being faster than the, 10, 100, 1000 base connection that was there. And so people would just do that if they needed to have no latency or if it was part of, a larger network, especially in conference rooms and stuff like that. But at home, just connecting it to the Wi-Fi was faster. But if you've got the most recent Apple TV, then yes, plugging in the Ethernet's going to be faster. But the rest of your question, I'm getting a little confused because it sounds like you're saying plugging the Ethernet directly in and
just go through the router. That's fine.
Exactly.
You actually have to go through the router because it's going to need
because right now I have the router hooked to the TV through Ethernet.
Does your router have more than one Ethernet extra Ethernet port or just one?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So
no, it has two.
Yeah. So either that or get a switch that goes into the router. But you definitely don't. You have to go through the router. You can't bypass the router.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to do that. I was wondering whether I should do the router directly to the Apple TV or the router to the TV.
Through directly. The TV.
Yeah, I have it right now connected to. I have an Ethernet.
Both. If you do you use the TV for streaming? Does it have Netflix on it or something? Or do you just use the TV as a monitor for the Apple TV?
No, it's just a monitor for the TV.
Okay, here's my advice. With a smart TV If you're not using the smart features, do not connect it to the internet, because what it's really doing is spying on you. You need to periodically to update the TV, maybe. But what that whole internet connection for the TV, if you're not using built-in apps inside the TV, like Netflix or whatever, if you're using your Apple, as you should be using your Apple TV for all of that, take the thing off your TV and put it into the Apple TV. Your TV does not need to be connected to the internet, except for updates and to send back information about what you're watching to the home office.
Are you ready for this? Last week, because I have my TCL TV connected to get internet or to get firmware updates, but I have it blocked from phoning home. Last week, the TCL TV tried to contact home. I kid you not, in 1 week, 22,800 times. My router blocked it from phoning home 22,800 times.
Holy man!
So you have set up that it can't call out. It can only
receive an update.
That's interesting. Yeah. I would just say don't even bother connecting. You can see why.
Yeah,
that's a lot of traffic you don't want on your network. Don't connect it until once a month or once every quarter. Connect it just to see if there's updates, because the rest of the time it's just spying on you. Again, that's not the case if you have you're using the smart TV apps on your smart TV. You need to connect that to the internet. So just take it off your TV, plug it into the Apple TV.
Okay, I'll do that. And I've got an old TV, and that's the other. Eventually, I want to upgrade to a 4K. I have an old Panasonic that's still chugging along, and it's a nice picture, but it's not 4K. And I have an old Denon receiver, which AV receiver I'd like to upgrade eventually as well. But they don't die, so I just can't.
This is what I call the upgrade cascade. People forget you get a 4K TV. Suddenly you have to upgrade your AV receiver. You have to upgrade your Apple TV. Oh, you're spending a lot of money on a lot of stuff.
New audio.
Get new HDMI cables. It's not just the TV. You want to upgrade everything to get to the nice 4K. But then you're going to be happy.
Eventually I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually I will, but right now.
And by then they'll have 8K, so you don't have to do it all over again.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Just because a few months ago I was wondering about a replacement for the Logitech remote, and I was asking about the sofa baton, and I got it. I got it on space, $50, but I got it for $40 on Amazon. I highly recommend it. I give it about an A-.
Nice.
Only because it has a scroll wheel, which is a little kludgy. And it has batteries that you have to either recharge or replace, as opposed to plug in to recharge your battery, an onboard battery. But other than that,
it does look like a baton. How many buttons does that thing have on it?
Not bad. But it has those colored ones that you can use for macros, which is great. And like I said, it connected with an app. You connect to all your devices, and then it pairs with this, and it sends the info there, and I like it better than the Logitech, and it was a lot cheaper. And, I think it's a good choice for people to do. They have the more expensive one with the hub, but that's like 3 or 4 times the price, and it's ridiculous. But
so your advice is don't get the hub, just get the regular sofa baton.
Yeah, I think for most people, because it's 15 devices. I don't think you're going to need more than that.
Yeah, you'd have to. So get the U1, not the X1. And and does it? So one of the things, the Harmony was great. The Logitech Harmony was great. Is they had a database online. Of course, they're going to discontinue it, but they had a database online that had all the devices. So you didn't have to teach it. Does the sofa baton do that as well?
Yeah, through the app you enter your name and just the company and the name. You don't even have to add any codes or anything.
And then it will figure it out. Okay, good.
It figures it out, sends it to it. And then even when there was a device I was using an HDMI switcher, but I'm not anymore, but it didn't have that in its database. And it sends information to the developers, and they sent back a note saying, well, you can't find it.
They'll add it.
But just go ahead and pair it to that remote if you have a remote for it, and it did, and it worked fine.
And now you're doing a favor to everybody else, because they'll be able to access that
in the future
in the database. That was what's great about the Harmony. This looks really good. Yeah. They say they have 600,000 devices from 6,000 plus brands in the cloud. So this is impressive. This is very impressive.
And they're adding more, like I say, through users, they're adding more every day. So like I say, they were very responsive when this particular device didn't show up. So I know that they're really trying to build the database of devices they have to be able to use with their remote.
Look at all those.
But I think it's wonderful. I haven't had any problem. The only other issue is, I think, distance. You have to be like within 5 to 7 feet. You can't be very far away from it. But other than that, like I say, those two or three little
it's infrared too, so it's line of sight. Some of the Logitechs were RF, so you go around a corner and still control your stuff.
Right.
I bet with a hub, though, I bet that's how the hub works, is with RF. Anyway, I'm going to buy one of these. Yeah, I'm going to buy one of these because
cool.
you can get it on sale for $40.
That's great.
I know it says $50 in the but the Friday Thursday or Friday.
The X1 with the hub goes 10 meters.
Infrared, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth signals.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So you can.
Hey, great tip! Thank you so much. That's great, Kevin.
Works great.
Thank you. I'm going to buy one. This is a constant battle. You know, we have 5 remotes right now on our coffee table. Woof. And Lisa says you can't die because I won't be able to watch TV.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, no, it is literally the only reason. So I did do a manual. I printed up a manual with pictures and everything. But this would be much better to have a remote, one remote that rules them all. Hey, Kevin, thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mac Geeks. Take care. Bye-bye. It's nice to talk to a Mac geek. You want to talk to a science geek?
Yeah.
Earlier this week, I was so jealous.
So cool.
So jealous. On This Week in Space, Rod Pyle and Tarek Malik, the hosts of This Week in Space, had a very special guest, Bill Nye, the science guy, and they asked him kind of the most important question. Why do we need manned space exploration? Watch.
We want to explore just to see what's out there because you don't know what you're going to discover. Nobody would be talking about the Big Bang or dark energy and dark matter without space exploration.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be having this conversation electronically across a continent without space exploration. But the other thing for me, you guys, I want to find evidence of life on another world while I'm still alive. That just would mean the worlds to me. So I claim if we could find life on it or evidence of life on another world, it would change this one. It would change our world. Everybody would feel differently about being alive in the cosmos. And, we all accept that the Earth is, almost all of us accept that the Earth is a ball that has changed the way we do everything. Commerce, navigation, reckoning of the seasons and time on clocks and computer clocks and everything. And so I would like to find evidence of life, some sort of like fossilized pond scum on Mars. But what would be really cool would be to find something still alive. Does it have DNA?
Right.
Little Martian microbes, little Mars crobes. Do they have DNA or are they a whole nother thing?
Wow, Bill Nye, the science guy.
I'm shook.
He's kind of a hero for all of us geeks. Anyway, if you want to see the whole interview, it's on This Week in Space, twit.tv/TWIS. And you note something different?
What's that?
Video.
That's right.
We've been planning to roll out video for This Week in Space for some time, but when we heard Bill Nye was going to be on, we said, no, now's the time. So you can watch that video or audio if you prefer at twit.tv/twist or search for This Week in Space wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, let's take a little break. We'll come back with more questions. Joe, who is a betting man, said, I'm going to be next. And I said, that's kind of like the WWE wanting legislatures to approve betting on scripted wrestling matches. I don't know.
That seems...
I don't know if it's it's going to lobby the guy with the button, is what I'm saying. Do you think that'll pass? That's such a weird...
I didn't realize that was happening.
Yeah, they want people to be able to bet
on
matches. They said, but we'll keep the script secret.
But what if they decide to change it?
Right.
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. Plus, I think there'll be a lot of people who say, wait a minute, wrestling is scripted?
Oh, isn't that... Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry. It's like, learning that Santa Claus truly is real.
I know.
Wait,
when I found that out,
yeah, I thought,
fake. Oh, man, I've been blowing it every Christmas. Holy cow. Our show, speaking of Christmas, our show is brought to you by a wonderful sponsor who has gifts for you, Melissa. You've heard us talk about Melissa before. Organizations who are looking to adapt and survive in today's digital world have got one thing is really important. We talk about it all the time, authentication, the ability to establish and verify identities online. And frankly, traditional identity verification methods are just not cutting it anymore. Digital ID verification is now a core fundamental to maintaining customer and employee trust. Transactions must be secure in order to safeguard against the continuous rise in fraudulent activity. It's one of the biggest issues we face today in a whole bunch of sectors. But the use of digital identity and digital identity practices has transformed it. It's put businesses are using it now at the forefront of new technologies, new user behaviors, and it lets them onboard customers in a matter of seconds. It lets you have the confidence that you're dealing with who you think you're dealing with. There's quite a few benefits you can expect with digital identity verification using Melissa. Users can verify themselves remotely 24/7, and by the way, at a much faster rate, and for you at a cost rate that's far lower than manual checks. Digital ID verification can verify more than 6,000 global ID types. Wow. And uses trusted worldwide data sources to ensure that person's who they say they are. Increased automation, faster turnaround times, fewer touch points, make it for a seamless customer experience. Plus, you are in a position to be able to scale up or down with a business based on the number of checks performed. You can, grow, or if you can reduce it if you don't need it. You never pay for more than you need. You can be up and running in minutes with easy integration into existing systems and workflows that can be performed in seconds in an easy 3-step process. You'll enjoy higher levels of accuracy. That's one of the things Melissa, the address experts, has always been great at, getting that accurate customer data in there. You'll also get better compliance. Manual keying is just a recipe for error, right? But you're not doing that anymore. Rarely will you experience any downtime when it comes to cloud servers because they're always updated with the latest technology, so they're going to stay one step ahead. And if you have to maintain Know Your Customer, KML, or anti-money laundering, AML compliance, you'll be very happy to learn that Melissa is fully compliant. So you're going to ensure a standout customer experience, but you're also going to get that fraud protection. Since 1985, Melissa has specialized in global intelligence solutions to help organizations unlock accurate data for a more compelling customer view. And don't worry, I know, you're giving them that precious data, but Melissa treats it like the gold that it is. They undergo continuous independent security audits because they're absolutely committed to data security and privacy and compliance. In fact, they're SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR compliant. Your data is in the absolute best hands. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Make sure you're dealing with the customer you think you're dealing with. Get started today. 1,000 records cleaned for free. That's always been the offer. I love it. Melissa.com/twit. Melissa, MELISSA.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting Ask the Tech Guys. You support us too when you use that address. Melissa.com/twit. Another way to support us, join the club. If you enjoyed that Bill Nye interview, if you enjoy This Week in Space, that's thanks to our club members. We launched This Week in Space in the club, and we're able to bring it to a larger audience as it grew its audience. We're doing the same thing with Mikah's show.
Mm-hmm. Hands on Mac.
I think Hands on Mac may be getting close to a public reveal. We don't want to keep things in the club only, but when a show is launching and it doesn't have any support, ad support, or audience support, the club is the best way to get it launched. We got Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott. We've got the Untitled Linux Show with Jonathan Bennett. Jonathan asks me every week, when can we go public with this? I keep saying, someday, maybe. If there's enough support for Linux. It needs a name. Is that the problem? We also have the Giz Fizz with Dick D. Bartolo. Stacy's Book Club special events we put on. You get access to the Discord. For a lot of people, ad-free versions of all the shows is the selling point. That's nice. You wouldn't even hear this. And you also get the Twit Plus feed, which has besides new shows, it has material that we just don't put out anywhere else. A lot of the chatter before and after shows is the most interesting part of shows. It helps us out a lot. You would think with all that, it would cost a ton. $7 a month. Nothing. We wanted to make it affordable. $7 a month. You can give us more if you wish, but you don't have to. $84 a year. There's also corporate memberships. Find out more at twit.tv/club. Twit.tv/club. And honestly, I think the Discord is perhaps
It's so fun.
the best part of the whole thing. It's such a great community. We would be honored if you would join us. Is that Boba Fett? Yeah. I don't know. What movie is that from? Empire? Okay. He knew. Benito knows all. Twit.tv/club. Twit. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Hey, should we take another call?
Let's take another call.
What else do we have? We got Sam Abul Samad is on his way up in a Kia. The new Ioniq, right? The new EV from Kia.
Something.
That's coming up in just a bit. We got a lot still to do. We're going to talk about these microphones. I promised we would explain what 32-bit float recording is and why you might want it. But Joe has his thumb on the scale. Joe says, I bet you're going to take me next. All right, Joe, you win. Hello, Joe, our photographer, our street photographer from New York, New York.
I was just guessing based on the order in Zoom on the top.
You think Leo pays attention to that? Is this order chronological even? I don't even know how it works.
Is it chronological?
We don't know.
Even?
We don't know. Magnets, how do they work? No one knows. So what can we do for you, Joe?
Yeah, real quick before I get into my question, I just going back to the TV thing that Mikah was talking about. I have a TCL 8 series, and I don't connect it to the internet. I use an Apple TV, and there's a flashing white LED in the front that cannot be disabled unless you connect it. So I had to cover it with some electrical tape.
I hate that.
It's really obnoxious.
I have the same problem. Lisa doesn't like any lights in the room. I have so many blinky lights. And what I've done is gone around. They even sell these little sheets of dots of different, not only different sizes, but different opacities.
Yep.
So if you
dots,
kind of
squares.
need to see it, but you don't want to see it bright and stuff, and you can go around and I now take it on trips with me because we stay in hotels. They're also blinky lights. So if you ever stay in a hotel room that somebody's put dots on all the LEDs.
You know Leo's been there.
I've been there. Hey, that reminds me, I forgot to mention when I was talking about Club Twit, speaking of Home Theater Geeks is back.
Yes, that's right.
In our club, Scott Wilkinson, and his first interview was with Tomlinson Olmanson, the TH. Is he the T and the H of THX? He's definitely one of them. Anyway, what can we do for you? That's a good tip. Thank you, Joe. What can we do for you?
Yeah, so I just installed Ubuntu on my laptop, and everything is working well, except for one thing. The trackpad scrolling, when you use 2 fingers to scroll, it's all over the place. And I looked on Google, looked on the Ubuntu forums, and cannot get a straight answer as to how to slow that down a little bit. Apparently, different apps might use different methods.
I think you have a bad driver. I think you have a bad driver. So I use Ubuntu and Ubuntu derivatives. I like Pop OS. I also use Manjaro and Arch derivatives, and all of them handle the trackpad on every laptop I try well. But you got to get the right trackpad driver, and so because I think that's the problem. And then once you have the right driver, there will be settings to slow down the ballistics of the trackpad, things like that. But I think if it's jumping around a lot, it's really hard to control. That's just a bad driver.
It's not that it's jumping around. It's just too fast. I just want to slow it down. Like, it works well.
Have you gone into settings just to see?
Nothing.
Nothing in there? Okay.
You can control the trackpad speed, but not the scrolling speed.
Oh, I get what you're saying. So the trackpad's fine.
That's fine.
It's scrolling up and down.
Yeah. The 2-finger scrolling, and I cannot get a real straight answer as to how to change that. There's nothing in settings. Some people say, if you have a Logitech, whatever, use this. If you've got a Synaptic, whatever, use that. And it's all over the place.
Scooter X is pointing us to askubuntu.com/questions, but you could just search for touchpad, 2-finger scroll too fast. And there actually is an article about that. So
I have seen those, but apparently
just people-
Firefox uses a different method of scrolling than some others do.
So
It's-
one thing you might do is turn off or on, but I think off smooth scrolling on Firefox.
Okay.
That might be one of the problems, or maybe turn it on. Actually, I don't. Whatever it is, do the other one. Just toggle it, because there is a setting for smooth scrolling, and that may be actually what's causing the issue. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll give that a shot.
yeah, and then do look. This is where Arch is great because the Arch Wiki has lots of information. Ubuntu is a little less so, but do look for alternate drivers. What you want to find out is who makes that trackpad. Is it a Synaptics or who? And it may be that the generic driver that Ubuntu installed isn't the best driver for that. So that's the other thing I would try to do. Okay. Joe?
That makes sense. Real quick before I go, one quick tip, if I may.
Yes.
So I have been doing some spring cleaning lately and getting rid of some old gadgets that don't really work too well, like old printers and things like that. Dell will take almost anything back if you just want to get rid of it.
Really?
Yeah. Well, to recycle, I mean,
They don't
they'll
give you
properly
money
recycle
for it, but they'll take it.
Well,
to
I mean,
recycle
it's stuff that I would just throw out anyway, right? It's not anything that's worth selling.
I don't know if you've noticed, but every time you buy a computer these days, there's a $5 recycling fee. They have to take it back. That's what that money goes to. So good. Yeah, just say. And do you have to box it up in any particular way? Or?
Yeah, how does that work?
No. They don't care. They'll just, you tell them what you're returning and you give them some basic information like your address and phone number, and you just print out a FedEx label and you can just have FedEx pick it up. And I've done broken old computers and printers and things like that. That again, I wouldn't get any money for, but I kind of felt bad just having it sit in a landfill somewhere. So
Yeah,
at least
that's
they'll
good. Yeah.
allegedly, dispose of it properly. So
It's tricky to dispose of these. And so you always want to go to an electronics recycler. And I bet you Dell does the right thing. They don't just send it to China. I bet you they take it apart and get the pieces out and so forth. The biggest problem is the battery. There are constant fires at recycling centers from lithium-ion batteries getting punctured and exploding.
And they pay for the shipping, to be clear.
Nice.
It doesn't cost you any money.
That's
and
great.
I don't know whether they still do this, but they used to actually, if you didn't have a box, they would ship you a box.
Oh, wow.
To send it back and for free. I don't know whether that's still the case, but I have done that before, and it's, again, completely free. So definitely worth looking into.
Very good tip. Very good tip. And they pay for shipping. So there's no reason not to. Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
I see Dr. Mom in the chat room, but she's not raised her hand. So I won't call on you.
Oh,
unless
maybe looking to raise the
hand.
hand.
Do you want to raise your hand, Dr. Mom? You can raise your hand in person because I can see you.
Yeah. All right. Dr. Mom's got to raise hand.
Hello, Dr. Mom. So she goes, she's looking. She goes, oh, well, I could do that. I could do that much. All the way from beautiful San Diego, California, where the sun is not shining because California is under 6 feet of water today. Dr. Mom. Hi, Lil.
Yeah, not just 6 feet of water. The swimming pool is overflowed. The fountains in the courtyard have got water. And my poor dog is looking outside going, I'm not going
I ain't going out there. No way.
The only comment I was going to make on recycling, check with your local high schools and fundraising events. They're always having recycling events.
Yeah, and we used to on the radio show years ago. We used to have ads for electronic or e-waste recycling because you can't just give it to the regular recycler. You gotta find an e-waste. Every town we'll have an e-waste center, and that's even batteries, even old batteries. You got to bring there.
Well, in San Diego, the libraries will take back your batteries.
No kidding.
Recycle used batteries. You just take them in and hand them to them. Things like televisions and stuff, they usually try and charge you for, but like we're having another one next weekend.
Nice.
And the high schools do it to raise money.
Sure.
You're not going to get any money for it, but just drive it over and give it to them. But one thing, make sure you wipe the hard drive before you give it over to them.
Yes.
Yep.
I got rid of an old printer and I put on my safety goggles. I got out my drill and I drilled through all the chips in it because I didn't
have hard
know.
drives.
Yeah.
Printers have storage on them. People
remember
forget.
that old fiasco with the printers and they were recycling when they said and found all the patient records and everything on them?
Terrible. Yeah. Dr. Mom is a physician and fully HIPAA compliant, so there.
Yeah, no kidding. Believe me, the stuff that you have to deal with. Did you know that your side of your face is not HIPAA compliant, but your full face is?
Oh, really? NBC used to tell us if your mother, so they said when you're shooting on the street or whatever, even if it's somebody's back, if their mother could look at it and say, "Oh, that's my son Mikah," then you got to get a release. If but now with computers, it's only half the face because my mom would know it's this half.
HIPAA is a profile is not considered a problem. A full face or three-quarter face.
Isn't that funny? Huh.
Tattoos are a problem.
Oh yeah, because they're often unique. Yeah.
If you have like a radiation therapy tattoo, like I did when I had radiation 10 years ago, I got a blue dot on my chest. That's not exactly considered identifiable.
There are a lot of people with blue dots there. Hey, but you're in good health now. Everything's fine.
I celebrated 10 years in June. I take my last maintenance pill,
nice.
And I get to throw. And the better, I finally had both cataracts fixed. I celebrated by throwing out all my contact lenses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you told me when you get your cataracts fixed, you can get corrective lenses put in your eyes. You don't have to wear glasses anymore.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I can see 20. I didn't realize how bright colors were.
Oh, that's
I can't wait to get cataracts.
Yes, you can.
No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm just kidding. Hey, I had some questions actually because Dr. Mom is kind of our resident physician expert. We've been talking lately about Apple, and they seem to be making some progress towards a non-invasive glucose monitor for your Apple Watch. And I know you're kind of up on this. I was just curious, what kind of FDA approval do they have to get for that?
Okay, they're going to have to get an FDA to use it and get insurance companies to pay for it. People have to understand there's a difference between FDA approved or compliant and FDA approved. Compliant means that FDA has decided it's not going to kill you or harm you.
Right.
Approved means it can be used for medical things. So you see a lot of stuff like that. I don't know if
almost all the Apple Watch stuff is merely compliant, right?
Right.
The ECG.
It's not approved.
Yeah.
It just means it's like, remember that thing Cardia? It's still around where you put
Cardia. Yeah.
Or I would use a Google Watch. I can put a finger here and get an EKG.
Yeah, that's compliant, not approved.
That's compliant. It means it's not going to electrocute me or something. But a physician.
But don't diagnose anything from it because it's not approved.
No. Well, you could. Like they say, Cardia will send it to a cardiologist and they'll look at it and everything.
Right.
No reliable physician would risk their license and their insurance.
Good to know. They'll they'll give you a full EKG with all 20 sensors or whatever.
Well, what they may do is they may look and say, that doesn't look right. Get yourself in here and let's do it properly.
Yeah. And that's really, I think, the value of it. Oh, that makes me nervous. Let's come on. Let's do a real test. Yeah.
The thing with the glucose, what they're trying to do is, I wear a continuous glucose monitor, little button on my arm over here.
Yep.
And I can scan. But then the sensor is under my skin. And what it does, it measures the sugar level in the fluid around the cells in my arm.
The interstitial glucose level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That lags about 15 minutes behind what's in my bloodstream, both going up and going down. But for day-to-day stuff like, what can I have for breakfast? I'll scan my arm. My blood sugar is 80. I can sit there and have toast for breakfast. My blood sugar is 130. I'm going to pass on the bread and such.
Right.
They're trying to see if they can do it with the sweat on the arm.
Interesting. Okay.
Which the problem is, what if you're not sweating? It's not hot enough or anything. There's some technical points. They've been working on it for a while. There's also, again, the latency issue. As I said, the interstitial ones.
Because it's not your blood glucose, it's just the glucose and other stuff. And remember, Google had this contact lens Verily that they decided to abandon. It was going to do the glucose in your tears and have the same latency problem, but also it was hard to make a contact lens with batteries and all the equipment that you had to have in there. Not something anybody wanted to wear, I think.
As I said, like I use a second generation CGM from one company. The third generation just came out. It's about the size of 2 dimes.
I want the new one. I was using the Abbott and
the 2?
Yeah. But the new ones do it by Bluetooth. You don't have to put your phone on your arm.
The new ones are okay. Now that you mentioned the product name, I use the Abbott. The Dexcom is continuous reading. The Abbott stores the information, but you have to scan it with NFC to get the information off it.
And you have to do it within 8 hours. It only stores 8 hours of readings.
Yeah. Supposedly, the new Abbotts are supposed to be like the Dexcoms and are going to be doing it continuously.
Good.
Here's the problem I will tell you with all of them. If you take a hot shower, they're inaccurate for about an hour and a half.
There's all sorts of problems. Yeah.
You can't take vitamins. You can't take vitamin C with them. There's a whole bunch of issues that can mess it up.
Yeah. Plus, your arm gets tired of that every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks.
Oh no, that doesn't bother me.
I want to put it on my butt instead. But anyway, that's another story, another conversation for another time.
You can. The reason they say your arm is that's the only place that they tested it to get approval.
Right.
People put it on their stomachs. They put it on their backs.
I know some
and stuff.
type 1 diabetics put them all over the place because,
because you run out of.
They want to rotate.
Even changing it every 2 weeks, you run out of spaces eventually. But I mean, to me, I slap it on my arm. I've gone around in tank tops and stuff with the button on my arm. My grandkids
People are used to it. Yeah. The other day,
my grandkids think it's grandma's reset button. They push it and, I go.
That's adorable.
We went to a big rock concert with, Motley Crue and so forth. And Poison was playing, and Bret Michaels, who's the lead singer of Poison, is proudly wearing his CGM right in his arm there, because he's a type 1 diabetic, I think he's type 1 and has been his whole life, and it's no big, right? It's no big. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Now listen, I have one bone to pick with you. Why didn't you not give Mikah the weekend off last weekend to go to the knitting show in Sacramento?
He didn't ask.
I didn't know, but thank you, Dr. Mom, because Dr. Mom shared in the chat a place where I can see all of those events that are coming up. So next year, hopefully I'll get to see
Dr.
you in
Mom.
Sacramento.
Now I got to give him time off. Did you go up to Sacramento?
There's also one in Pasadena in November.
Did you go to the Sacramento one?
Of course I did.
Oh, you're a big knitter. That's a big deal. That's a commitment.
Well, okay, here we go. Pictures. There's my crocheted.
Wait a minute! Don't tell me what that is.
Is it like a
latte?
That's a hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate because it's got whipped cream in it.
Oh, the little
There's
teapot.
my crocheted teapot.
It's annoyed. Okay. Oh, it's a teapot. Okay.
That's a teapot. Yes, it's annoyed. Oh yeah, I have a crocheted latte. I have from San Diego.
I love show us the latte again.
Yeah,
I
can
like
we see
that
again?
with the hot chocolate.
Okay, this is hot chocolate.
I love the hot chocolate with the
So
whipped cream,
cute.
Whipped
and
cream
little
with a
eyes.
chocolate bar on the top.
Oh, that's so cute. Do you give those to your grandkid?
Some of them I do, some of them I don't. If I put what's called modeling wire through it so the arms will stand up and like wave at you or something, I won't give that to a child.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Because there's a wiring risk. But my problem is I moved in New York. I used to knit myself new hats and scarves every year. I don't need them in San Diego.
Yes, I had the same issue. I've made so many hats and scarves with knitting specifically, and I'm like, I don't.
You know what they do
really
in San
need them.
Diego? They knit golf club socks.
Oh, because they all golf.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's what you got to knit there. It's your golf club.
Except you can't use wool because they get wet and get funky, so you have to use acrylic, which I hate using acrylic.
I don't like acrylic.
My hobby is getting wet and getting funky. So, it just depends.
TMI.
Different strokes.
Yeah, thank you, TMI.
Did you have a question, Dr. Mom, or you just want to call me to yell at me for not letting Mike have the weekend off?
I just want to give you a comment on another place on how to recycle.
Okay.
Which was, as like I said, was check your local high schools, check your local churches.
Oh, that's
and
right.
such.
Yeah, you already said it.
They
Yeah.
almost all have events every month or so.
Okay.
Some of them even have paper shredding events, and you can bring bins of paper.
Oh, that's nice. Big old.
Because what they do is they
shredder.
sell the byproducts to raise money, so they just give them to you.
Nice.
And they don't
hamster
they don't
farms.
charge you to haul away the TVs or anything.
Dr. Mom, longtime friend of the show. It's so nice to talk to
Good
you.
to
I
see ya.
appreciate getting you on Ask the Tech Guys. Your first visit, but not your last, I'm sure.
Yeah. And Mikah, one of these days we have to do a little segment on Knit Companion. I don't know if you used it yet.
He's totally like the textile guy. He does it all. It's amazing.
It's the best program for knitters around, but it has a very steep learning curve.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You have it. Knit
yeah,
Companion.
Knit Companion, yeah.
Is it
has a-
iPad as well as iOS?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, because you want a bigger screen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's got lots of great tools for kind of moving along in the
Oh, nice.
process and everything.
I have
but
to ask
And
my mom
highlighting
about that.
stitches, you want to do a special lace stitch here. You can turn it purple everywhere in the pattern so you know it's coming up.
Nice.
But it's got an incredibly steep learning
I
curve.
agree.
Nice. Thank you,
Thanks
Dr.
so
Mom. Have
Okay,
a wonderful
I'm gonna go
day.
back to
Stay
the chat room.
dry. Or, like me, get wet and funky. It's up to you. Okay, I think we should take the nerdiest caller in the
Who is the
nerdiest caller? I think it's Tom. Tom, you don't have your hand raised. Can I pick up on you anyway? Oh, wait a minute. Joe has the mug too. Yeah. Tom, can I pick you up? Let's do it, Tom. Come on. You win the prize, Nerd of the Week, ladies and gentlemen. Tom is on the line. Where are you calling from, Tom?
Warren, Ohio. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Warren, Ohio. Yeah, you bet. See, I gave Tom the prize because he is wearing a hat with a Twit sticker on it. Okay.
Yeah, I ordered some Twit mugs, but the logo's worn off of them. And
Joe Esposito has a very nice Twit mug. He sent us a Twit mug. In fact, thank you, Joe. I got to thank you for that with the new logo on it. I really.
Oh, nice.
One of the new. Yeah. We have many logos because Anthony Nielsen can't stop. So what's up in your world, Tom, from Warren?
Oh, it snowed a little bit today. It's temperatures all the way up to 35 degrees, and we're waiting for spring over here.
Yeah, I bet. We're getting it. It's beautiful. Do you see all the blossoms?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
You don't get that in St. Joe.
Oh yeah, we have a little bit of the daffodils, but they're not blooming yet. They shoved up through the leaves and through some of the snow. We don't even have any snow on the ground now. The snow came today, about 1/4 of an inch of snow, and it was gone after a couple hours.
This is what radio is great for. It's the Farm Report. We got Tom on from Warren. How are things in Ohio? Or is the corn coming in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Around this area, if I go about 10 miles out of town, there's soybean and corn farms.
Oh, I bet. Yep. So what can we do for you, Tom?
What's the latest and greatest for mesh systems for your Wi-Fi?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm looking for a Wi-Fi 6 setup because I think my old Google Mesh that I have now doesn't do Wi-Fi.
Google,
6.
I believe, has updated the mesh, and it probably is Wi-Fi 6. But I'm still an Eero fan. I know you.
You mean just through a software update?
No, new hardware because that's. New frequencies, so they have to have new radios to do 6 or 6E.
Okay.
In fact, I'd probably look for 6E because if you're going to upgrade, might as well get 6E. You don't have 6E.
That's the Eero you're talking about? That's what I was thinking.
Nest, Google has the Nest Wi-Fi Pro with Wi-Fi 6E. That is the full name. There's the Google Wi-Fi, there's Nest Wi-Fi, and then there's Nest Wi-Fi Pro with Wi-Fi 6E. So if you wanted to stick in the Google ecosystem, if you liked the way that worked and you're comfortable with the system, then yes, you could go with the Nest Wi-Fi Pro with Wi-Fi 6E. Because I use it so much and because I have been able to troubleshoot it with family and know exactly how it works, I do continue to recommend Eero. I have not yet had a reason to not recommend Eero as the mesh Wi-Fi system. They have absolutely Wi-Fi 6E. There's the Eero Pro 6E version. And so you could use that if you'd like. But again, if you want to stay with Google, there is an option for you with Wi-Fi 6E.
I like the Eero. That's what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And if the speed leader was always Netgear's Orbi, which is also a mesh system. They also have a 6E system. But I am not. Yeah, I am not up to date on what the best mesh is these days because, as you can see, they release new stuff all the time.
All the time.
And I just don't know what the best mesh is. We should do a little poll.
My Google system, I think, is an antique. I think it's 5 years old or older.
I wasn't really fond of the old Google systems, but I've heard from a number of people that the new Pro is actually quite good. So I didn't.
It works fairly well. I know they've increased the speeds over here with our whatchamacallit,
your ISP
charter.
Charter.
Charter Spectrum. I was trying to think of the Spectrum, and it's up to 300 now, but it's still not. The upload is not symmetrical.
Right.
The wire cutter, which does a lot of different guides for the best of this, the best of that. They did recently update in February their best Wi-Fi mesh networking guide and continue to recommend the Eero as well. Yeah. So that's good to hear because it sometimes takes a while for them to get the latest.
The negative, though, and the only negative I think on Eero is there's a subscription fee of $90 if you want the Eero. Yeah. All the extra features. Mm-hmm. There's a second negative, which some people wouldn't bother you because you have a Google Mesh router. But Eero does send a lot of information back to the home office. That's how they do their bandwidth shaping. It's not done locally on the Eero. It's done on their servers. And some people, in effect, Eero is getting information about all the devices you have. So they know everything you have on your network, things like that. And that bothers some people. I think Google probably does the same thing. It's the easiest way to do bandwidth shaping. I don't know if Netgear does. My sense is they do not. So Wirecutter obviously wasn't paying any attention to those issues. But I think those are, for some people, showstoppers, so you should be aware of it.
You have to have the subscription with the Eero.
No.
What do you get? You subscribe though, right?
Yes, I do, because it's how I get my password
Plus,
subscription and stuff like that. So if you want to have a dynamic, what is that called? I can't think of it now.
DNS.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
If you want to have dynamic DNS so that you can phone home with a specific DNS.
Dynamic IP. Yeah.
Also ad blocking at the network level. And
it's kind of like a pie hole a little bit.
Exactly. You're basically paying for Pi-hole. That's what Eero Plus gets you is Pi-hole. But you also, if you want them, and again, this is how I do it, a 1Password family account, Encrypt Me VPN, which I don't use, and then Malwarebytes antivirus, particularly if you've got a Windows machine somewhere. It's great to have Malwarebytes for that.
It sounds like you're describing like you're subscribing to a VPN.
That is
I think they offer a VPN.
Yeah, it's part of it. So you get that as part of it. But again, those are all extras that you don't.
You should
need
look
to
at the
have.
list to see if it's worth $90 or $99 a year. But
okay, they just do it.
When I had Eero, I paid for it. But it just some people goes, well, you mean I have to pay? I pay $600 for this Eero and the 2 beacons, and I have to give you another $100 a year. Yeah, and that some people that really bugs them. Yeah. But okay. I think performance-wise, I'd agree with Wirecutter. Eero's always been the king of the hill on that one.
I'll have to take a look. Yeah, the 6E, you said.
Yeah, you might as well. If you're going to 6, go to 6E. Because it's sexy. Golly, yes says. Every time it says 6E, I go.
I like the fireplace there. I got my real wood fireplace burning.
Nice.
In the other room.
This, we're in California. You're not allowed to have wood. So we got this, and there's no heat at all.
All that wood that decomposes in the forest.
Yeah, and then it burns anyway. So what the hell, right? Yeah, we're worried more. I think they're more worried about the smoke in the air. And I tell you what, you drive from here down into San Francisco, you go through Marin, where every single house has a wood burning stove. It is really smoky. I don't know what it's like in Warren, but it's really smoky in the winter. It's.
I think I'm the only one in my block.
Well, there you go. So it's a nice. There's nothing like a fire. I mean, I agree. I love it, but yeah,
I think it's genetically
it's built in.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much, Tom. Have a great. It's always good to talk to you. Have a great one. Take care.
I got my sticker from the last.
Yeah, that's his hat sticker.
Now I saw an individual with a lightsaber. I was wondering if we could talk to the lightsaber.
Is that Aaron? All right, we're going to go to Aaron. Let's pick up Aaron with his. So I think he's a Jedi. I believe. That makes him a Jedi, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Yes. Hello, Aaron. Welcome.
Or a Sith.
Hello.
Welcome to Ask the Tech Guys. Are you a Sith Lord or are you a Jedi?
No, I'm a Jedi. I'm actually, along with my mother-in-law, we're actually creating or sewing the costume for Mace Windu.
So. That's so you're going to do some cosplay with it. Now, I don't usually ask guys this, but will you show me your lightsaber?
Here it is.
Oh, look at that.
That's gorgeous.
Where'd you get that? Is that the one where you make your own?
No, you know what? It's a pretty large community in terms of saber makers. There's probably at least a dozen different companies that make sabers. And this one was my first one. And
it's beautiful.
As usual, I checked on Google and I bought the first one that looked like what I needed, and then I went to Reddit and I was like, oh, maybe I could have chosen better.
Never second guess the purchase. That's a beautiful. Now, what happens when you turn it on, though? What do you get?
You do get the sound. I took the battery out because it's charging, because it's pretty loud, but it does do the official.
And then what comes out of the thing? Is there a light or is there?
There is an attachment. It's a long plastic. That looks like the exact saber. So
cool.
Because I remember Justine went to a place where you would make your own sabers and you customize it and all that stuff. And I was that looked so good. I thought, well, that must be a pro. You're a pro Seth Windu. What is his name? Windu?
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu. Yeah.
Seth is his brother. He was kind of a ne'er-do-well.
I think we saw him once in the background.
Yeah, not so good. Yeah. Good. What can we do for you, Mace Windu?
Well, first thing, I just wanted to thank both of you guys for the Twit network, because I've been listening, I don't know, for like over probably a decade.
Yay.
And I think I started with Security Now and,
Yay.
port forwarding. And ever since then, now I'm an IT analyst in my town. And I really appreciate Mikah and Ant. And seeing the network grow. So thanks.
Yeah, we love our hosts, Mikah, Ant, Jason too. We love them all.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. We've built a really nice team here. So I thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very nice.
You're welcome.
I forgot to ask, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Prince George, which is in the middle of British Columbia, Canada.
BC is so beautiful. Do you have snow in Prince George?
Oh yeah, we have snow. Yeah. I think last week it actually snowed so much. I've probably got about a 12-foot pile of snow on my front lawn. Yep. So I could literally jump off of my roof into the snow.
12 feet?
Yeah.
And will it stay till spring?
It probably will. Like the weather has been really crazy
something
up
else.
here. So it's snowed a lot, and then it's gotten warm, and then it snowed, and then got warm. And
no one goes anywhere then, huh? Like, how does anyone?
There are days where there's just so much snow, I don't even bother leaving my house. I'm just like, I'm just staying here.
12 feet.
Yeah.
I'd be so tempted to tunnel through it, and create a little igloo and a snow fort. And, gosh.
Although you'd be worried it would collapse on you and you'd be stuck.
I know.
That's kind of scary.
I know. Yeah. What can we do for you, Mr. Mace Windu?
Well, so I've been trying to de-Google a little bit of my life, and I'm with Fastmail, so I switched over probably over a year ago.
And you can use their calendar and their address book, as I've mentioned before, and that gets you off of Google for that.
Mm-hmm. So now the challenge is that I've got a lot of content with Google Photos, particularly video. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've got a Synology NAS, I've got a 2-bay, so I've got the storage here, and I've played around with things like Photo Prism, but it's a little bit janky in my personal opinion. So I'm looking for some suggestions on what I can use to, in particular, replace Google Photos for storing my videos, because they're really large.
Yeah, the Synology has its own Photos app. Is it Moments still, or do they rename it again? I think they keep renaming it to something else.
I think it's Photos or something
Photos
like that.
now, yeah. And I played with it. There are people out there. There's an open source, I think very promising new open source. If you said you're on Reddit, I've been reading about it on Reddit, open source photos program. I can't remember off the top of my head the name of it, but it'll come to me. But at this point, I think there's nothing as good as Google Photos. Apple's Photos is very good. If you're a Mac user, even though iCloud is kind of pricey, it's certainly, I actually, that's what I do now. I used to use Lightroom and a bunch of other solutions to store my photos, because you always need something, a digital asset management solution, somewhere to kind of put everything. And actually, I've been using Apple's Photos and iCloud, and that actually works really well. But I think Google Photos works well. The downside to Google compared to Apple's Photos is it's not the original photos. Google squishes them down a little bit there, so they're JPEGs. So, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not the original. And I take a lot of RAWs. There's Amazon Photos, which if you're a Prime member is free for unlimited original quality photos. They do charge you after 10 gigabytes of video. You said you have a lot of video, so you might end up paying for that. But I actually still use both Amazon and Google in addition to iCloud, just because belt and suspenders. I don't want to ever lose anything. But I think because you have a Synology, you've got tons of storage. Either look at Synology's solution, and I will find you. I'll have to do a little searching around, but I will find you the name of the third party open source. It looked very promising. The guy's been working on it for a few years now, though, so that's the only drawback. And what if he gets tired of it, and so forth, so on. What do you use?
I just use Apple Photos.
Yeah.
I do also upload many of my photos to the Google Photos library because I have a subscription where they send you the printed out photos every month. I really like that. So I use it specifically for that. And in the past, I've used Amazon's as well, just to have multiple places to store it. And then I've also used Dropbox's own built-in photo and video storage solution. And that isn't as great when it comes to searching for photos. That's where Google Photos and Apple Photos, I think, really shine. But in terms of just having a storage location, the Dropbox storage is quite good. But if you're trying to move away from Google, then, in that same vein, you would want to be trying to move away from Amazon. And a lot of these solutions are using Amazon Web Services in the background. So it's hard to truly get away from any of it in the long run.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Are you using Google for search, or what are you doing for search?
I am using Google for search. I was thinking about paying for, is it Neva?
Neva.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough good things about Neva. It is, I've tried Bing and I've tried DuckDuckGo and I've tried Brave Search, and I always feel like, I'm missing something. It's not going to do as good a job. And Neva is the first one I've found that actually is as good as, in fact, I think better than Google, with no ads. It is $5 a month. There's a free trial version, but I want to support them. So I pay $5 a month not to have that. And I have not, this is the first time ever I've not been tempted to go back to Google. Partly because, I'll be honest with you, I think Google search has gone downhill. I think it's kind of junked up.
Yeah, there's so much gunk in the way before your actual results.
I think we're ready for a replacement. It's hard to get completely de-Google.
Yeah.
De-Googleified. But it's nice if you could take a little bit away from them, or at least diversify, right?
There you go. Diversify.
Yeah. And you saw our caller cut 3 weeks ago who Google took down his account.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to avoid. I mean, and I don't think I'll ever be in that particular situation, but I'm thinking, what if that one time
that's why you want to diversify. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, what if?
Scary. Yeah.
I have a picture, by the way, of Aaron as Seth Windu, Mace's brother. That's very good. You under arrest, my lord. Good. So are you going to have that kind of Jedi outfit? What is it going to look like?
I'm going to do as I'm going to replicate it as best as I can.
Oh, awesome.
And in Calgary, there's a fan expo at the end of April, so I'll be attending that in full costume. And it'd be cool. Let's see, Hayden Christensen's going to be there,
cool.
and then I'm also a Trekkie, so I like so Jonathan Frakes is going to be there. So definitely going to get some photos.
Him.
Awesome.
Number 2. All right.
Well, may the force be with you, Aaron.
Thank you.
And live long and prosper, right?
Oh, yeah.
You get them both.
You do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He started with Security Now. Steve always does that. I can't do it with my left hand for some reason. Okay. Number 1. Right, he's number 1.
Yes.
I think
he's not number 2.
I think Picard names his dog number 2. No, that's not a joke. I'm serious. I think he names his dog number 2 at some point.
I just figure Picard should be number 1. And then he would be number 2, but you're right. He's number 1.
Who is your number 1? Yeah. Who is my number 1?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
sense.
Anyway, Aaron, thank you. sorry you had to be here.
John Slanina came panicking into the room.
He is a true
number
Trekkie.
1.
He's a Trekker. Pardon me. Thank you, Aaron. Have a great day. Stay safe. Don't fall in the snowbank.
Oh, man. He can
12
just slice
feet
through it with the saber.
Wow.
12 feet of snow. Oof. Oofa doofa.
So we've been talking about this 32-bit float recording.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of confusion about it. And what it really got me is when Rode, who makes some very inexpensive and fairly good podcasting mics, came out with a microphone that does 32-bit float. And I thought,
wait,
that's
what?
not possible.
I thought it was the recorder that did that.
Yeah. So let's go. Let me walk over to the other side of the room, and we'll talk about 32-bit float. In fact, I have the new 6th generation Rode NT1 microphone. I'll give you a little demo comparing it to these are $100 more, and they require a mixer and stuff, but boy, they sure are good. Our Heil PR40s, which I think are the kind of the benchmark for what we're looking for anyway. So let me take a walk. So this is our Heil, and this is the brand new Rode. The original Rode NT. You know what's funny? I didn't realize this. Rode, the microphone and podcast equipment company, their first microphone was called the Rodent.
Uh-huh.
The Rodent. And so they cut off the NT and they made it the Rode Space NT. But this was the Rodent. This is the 5th generation Rodent. And like the predecessors, it has an XLR connection. This is what we sometimes call a pro connection. This particular XLR is the kind of thing you see on mic cables, but it's not great for podcasters or anybody who doesn't have a mixer because you need to have something, not USB, that will take this. When we set up people for our shows, we send them a good quality Heil PR40 microphone, which also has one of these XLR connections, and then a XLR to USB adapter. We send them this Focusrite Scarlett. There are a variety of ones that do that. That's what we call an A to D converter, because a microphone is analog and the computer wants digital. Even here, we convert to digital. We have a fairly fancy system, the Telos Axia system. And so we have what we call mic nodes, and the analog microphone cable goes into the mic node. The mic node turns it into bits, ones and zeros, and then sends it over the network into our mixer, our TriCaster over here. So that's one of the first things a microphone has to do is capture your voice in an analog waveform, and then somehow you have to turn that into bits. This is the new one. This is the Rode NT1 6th generation. You can immediately see cosmetically it's a little different. It has a silver cover, and the whole kit comes, which is kind of nice, with this spider.
Wow, that came with it?
Yeah, it's $250. You get the microphone plus the spider, which is nice because it isolates the microphone. You see it's got little rubber bands, isolates it from, table noise and things like that. It also comes with this pop filter, which is actually very useful for people new to broadcasting because it keeps their mouth at an appropriate distance from the microphone, in addition to stopping the pops. But this one's different. This is kind of interesting. This particular new Rode NT1 has a USB connection in addition to the traditional XLR. In fact, it's both in the same opening there on the bottom of the microphone. You have to search for the USB. It's a Type-C connection. And that explains how they can claim that this microphone is 32-bit float, because the 32-bit float is really a reference to how you're storing the digitized recording. And a microphone, as I mentioned, is analog. So this microphone, for the first time from Rode, has circuitry inside that does that standard analog to digital conversion over a USB cable. It also comes with a bunch of software. I'm running it on a Mac right now. This is the Rode Connect software. And they have built in some processing from Aphex, the Aphex Oral Equalizer, or Exciter, I'm sorry, Aphex Oral Exciter and the Big Bottom. This also, as you can see, has some additional, I don't know why, air horn and other sound effects. So I guess the idea, Rode is really focused on podcasters, is this could be your little software mixer, for down the road when you want to make a podcast. Can I switch over? Can we switch from the Heil PR40 to the Rode? Do you have that ability, Benito? So now I'm talking on the Rode. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear the difference, but there is. Can you hear it, Mike?
Yeah, definitely.
It's not as open, as airy. I think it's missing a little high end. The bass is pretty good. The biggest difference in technology is the Heil PR40, much like the Shure SM58 and the SMB7, is a dynamic microphone. It doesn't need power. It has a large coil that picks up the vibrations from your voice and converts them into an electrical signal that then goes into the mixer. This thing is a condenser microphone. The best microphones in the world, the Neumanns, for instance, thousands and thousands of dollars, those are all condensers. And when you see Lady Gaga singing in the studio in that anechoic booth with the egg cartons all around her, they're almost always using a very high-quality Neumann microphone. But notice they have to do a lot of soundproofing because condenser mics are very sensitive. They pick up a lot of sound, including not only sound from outside, but lip smacking and things like that. This microphone is okay. $250, you get all this equipment, and you get this USB interface. So maybe, when I pay $350 for a Heil, plus I have to buy the Focusrite that's going to convert it into USB, or a Shure Icicle, or one of many devices, it's going to add up. It's a little bit more expensive. I think for most people, this is a decent podcast mic. But when you hear it compared, go ahead, you can switch back. When you hear it compared to the
Wow.
Heil, it's just a different thing.
It sounds so muffled in comparison.
Yeah. It's just not capturing the full frequency. The other thing about condenser mics, and one of the reasons you pay a lot for Neumann mics and the really high-end mics, is every capsule on a condenser is different, and they have to test it. And what Neumann does is they go through a dozen capsules to find one that has the exact frequency response they want, and that's the one they sell you. I doubt Rode is doing that. So what also will happen is you get an inconsistent sound. One Rode may sound very different than another Rode because I'm sure they just use every capsule that comes off the line. And that's why, maybe I could get a Rode that would sound as good as the Heil. The Heils are very, very consistent, possibly because they're dynamic. Anyway, let's talk about 32-bit, because that was the other thing. This is advertised as 32-bit float. That's only true if you use the internal circuitry that converts the analog signal from the microphone into bits that are going into the computer. Actually, maybe it'd be an interesting experiment to see. Let's compare apples to apples. Instead of using the USB interface, let's use the full interface. Do you know how to do that? It's called Rode Test. So I'm going to use this and connect it directly to our board. Mm-hmm. So let it do the analog. It's not working? Okay. Doesn't really matter, but I think it's going to sound pretty much the same because it's really the characteristics of the microphone are this capsule here. So let's talk about 32-bit versus 16-bit. So when you get a CD, CDs are recorded at 44,100 samples per second. That's the hertz. And each sample, they're looking at a waveform, and 44,100 times a second, they sample that waveform, and that waveform can be anywhere in a 16-bit space. That's CD quality sound. That's 65,536 possible variations on the amplitude. That's how many levels you get with 16 bits. Now, you can increase that. In fact, in recording studios, modern recording studios, by the way, this graphic, thank you to Sound Devices. They did a really good piece on 32-bit recording. Most studios record 24-bit. I remember asking one of the members of the Eagles, who was a regular on Ham Nation, Joe Walsh, how he recorded in his home studio. Now, this guy can record any way he wants. And he said, yeah, 16-bit, I like 24-bit. I said, do you sample it at 96,000 cycles per second instead of, he said, no, 14's fine.
14?
Not 14, whatever. 44 is fine.
Oh.
But 24-bit. So most studios will at least do 24-bit sampling. That gives them, instead of 65,000 levels, that gives them 16 million different levels of amplitude.
Wow.
That they can measure. That's a lot more. 32-bit, you probably figured this out, is using a 32-bit. But it's not just 32-bit integers. It's using floating point. So it can get many, many more. Now, what does this mean? So this is the thing that makes a huge difference. It's not how many samples per second, but what's the dynamic range you can reflect. So with 65,000 samples per second with a CD quality, your dynamic range from the lowest sound to the highest sound is about 100 decibels.
Okay.
So the quietest sound, the symphony, where the guy's just got a little triangle and he goes ding, the quietest sound, that's 100 dB below the loudest sound where the whole symphony is playing as loud as they can and the timpanis are pounding on the drums. 24-bit gives you more dynamic range. So remember, we had 100 decibels. 24-bit gives you 145 decibels.
Now, Leo, on that one, the space that's between the top and the bottom looks...
Well, it's 16 million levels. That's why they're not going to show you.
Okay, they're just shortening it. Okay, good. I didn't know if there was more.
I think that's the illustration.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Or something. I don't know what that is. What is that? Maybe that's the 0 level. Yeah, actually, maybe that's it. You know what? You're probably right. There's more down than there is up, but I don't want to get into that.
Okay. Yeah, it gets complicated.
What you really need to know is what's the dynamic range. What's the biggest difference between the quietest sound and the loudest sound? 145 decibels with 16-bit. Would you like to know what the dynamic range that's represented by 32-bit float?
Yes.
It is It is 770 decibels.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry, that's half of it. It's 1,526 decibels. Wow. So the loudest noise on Earth is 210 decibels above the quietest noise. 200. That's the most you'd ever have to represent. The bellow of a blue whale versus the sound of a leaf falling in a forest.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Space shuttle taking. Okay, you can use that if you want. Actually, the bellow of blue whale is the loudest natural sound, but you're right. With man-made sounds can be quite a bit louder. But that whole difference, 210 dB, you're getting 1,500 dB when you're doing 32-bit float. So what does that mean?
Look at that graph.
Yeah. Actually, this is the graph comparing the three. 16, 24, 32-bit float. That means, and this is the most exciting thing about this, you don't have to pay attention to levels. Just turn on the recorder because you're recording with so much dynamic range that you'll never get too loud. The reason we have to pay attention to dynamic range, you've seen this, if it gets too loud, it clips, it chops off the top because it just can't record that. So you have to keep the levels right in the middle. And if I shout really loud, I can clip it because we've got it set for, not anymore, not with 32-bit. Now, there are devices that are legitimately 32-bit. One of the reasons sound devices are talking about this, because they're USB Mix Pre 2, what is it, Mix Pre 3, Mix 2, 3, anyway, is 32-bit. But also, I recently bought this. This is from Zoom. This is the Zoom F3 field recorder.
Oh, it's so little.
This is actually my field kit. I have a couple of dynamic SM58 microphones with regular mic cables because this takes analog in, regular mic cables, but this also does the recording, and this does 32-bit float recording.
That little thing does 32-bit. Wow.
So what that means, well, the main reason we didn't do 32-bit before, it takes up a lot of space, but hard drive space is cheap. I have in here a little compact flash card that can record 100 hours because drive space has gotten cheap. So we don't mind storing a lot of extra data, which you are with 32-bit float, because I don't have to pay attention to levels on here. I can just record. I can go out in the field and go, tell me, what's your reaction? Set it a foghorn. I'll tell you what He can shout, and it will not clip because we're recording in 32-bit float. So this is my field kit that I take around. In fact, we're going to take this on the next trip we take. So if we wanted to do a podcast on the trip, we could do that. And this little thing can record more than 100 hours, you can put a bigger card in it, of 32-bit float with 2 microphones at once. That means you never clip, you're never too loud. Your dynamic range is 1,500 decibels. So I could even go out here and say, I am standing in front of the launch of the new Falcon Heavy. Any minute now it's going to go off. It could go off. I could be standing right next to it, and it wouldn't clip. It would be able to record the whole sound. And even better, when you get into your digital audio workshop software, if it understands 32-bit float and I recorded it too quietly, I can increase it without increasing the noise level because I have so much dynamic range. So you have absolute control over how loud and quiet something is. So Rode is selling this as a 32-bit float microphone. No such thing. It's the circuitry in here. And honestly, if the microphone doesn't sound great, it doesn't matter how good the circuitry is, right?
Right.
Now, I'm not going to carry around Heil PR40s. I probably should. That would be the best way to use this Zoom field recorder. But these Shure SM58s, they're pretty good too. They do a decent job dynamic. And so I can go out in the field and do that recording. What do you have, John? This is Heil's version of this? I should probably carry these around. These are nice. This is really nice.
It's
Bob
little.
does the best stuff. That's his version of the SM58. You recognize this. This is in punk clubs everywhere because you just can't break it. You can't destroy it. Anyway, there's what 32-bit float means. Does that make sense, Mikah?
Yes. No, it absolutely does.
It's about increasing the dynamic range beyond the point where you would ever be too loud or too soft. You're recording every bit of the information, and you can zoom in effect. You can increase the levels without adding noise.
So if I were to go out and I'm recording the sound, I started a new ASMR show, and I'm recording the sound of a mouse eating some grubs on the ground.
Perfect. Yeah.
And that's going to be quiet. I can then go into my software and bump up the level, and it'll all still be there.
Or, you could be standing there recording the grubs and a fire truck goes by and you don't have to freak out and say, oh, turn it down quick, because you're recording it all.
Right.
And you're getting all that information and you can adjust it later in post. That's the story. Let's take another call. You want to?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to unplug here. Well, wait a minute now. They tell me they have it working now.
Well, yes, we should see, because...
So I'm on the Heil right now, yeah? And you think that you got the Rode working? Should we make the switch?
There, yep.
And now I'm talking on the Rode. Actually, you know what?
This does sound better.
It sounds a lot better. Don't use the Rode's USB interface. That's the rule.
It's still
switch
muffled,
back and forth. Do an A/B comparison. Now I'm talking on the Heil PR40, which it's a better treble or something. It's more spatial. It doesn't sound as muddy. And now I'm going to talk on the Rode NT1 6th generation. You know what? It's better, though, than the USB, I think.
It is.
It's not so bad.
Could it have been
tolerable.
the filters you had added, the round bottom or whatever it was?
The big bottom.
The big bottom.
I don't think I turned on the big bottom or the Aphex All Exciter. But we'll do that for another day, because that's really cool stuff. It used to be a big hardware box you'd get. I'll tell you about it when I come over. Hold on. No, in I think it was the 70s or 80s, I remember Linda Ronstadt was recording with the Aphex Oral Exciter. I was a DJ in those days. And everybody said, well, what does it do? And they said, we can't tell you what it does. We don't know. It just makes it sound better. But how does it make? We don't know. It's just magic. And Aphex, which made this box, this hardware box, that every recording studio in the country started using all of a sudden. And then they added this other button, which I remember Adam Curry using, the big bottom, which just adds a kind of a bassy kind of big bottom to it. But you don't really need that.
Yeah.
No, just talk normal. Somebody in the Discord says the Rode is like listening with a head cold. That's probably the best way.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here. I am the founder and one of the hosts at the Twit Podcast Network. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do here at Twit, because I think it's unique. And I think for anybody who is bringing a product or a service to a tech audience, you need to know about what we do here at Twit. We've built an amazing audience of engaged, intelligent, affluent listeners who listen to us and trust us when we recommend a product. Our mission statement as Twit is to build a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. Well, already your ears should be perking up at that, because highly engaged is good for you. Tech enthusiasts, if that's who you're looking for, this is the place. We do it by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. And I hear from our audience all the time, part of that knowledge comes from our advertisers. We are very careful. We pick advertisers with great products, great services, with integrity, and introduce them to our audience with authenticity and genuine enthusiasm. And that makes our host read ads different from anything else you can buy. We are literally bringing you to the attention of our audience and giving you a big, fat endorsement. We like to create partnerships with trusted brands who are in it for the long run, long-term partners that want to grow with us. And we have so many great success stories. Tim Broom, who founded IT Pro TV in 2013, started advertising with us on day one, has been with us ever since. He said, quote, "We would not be where we are today without the Twit network." I think the proof is in the pudding. Advertisers like IT Pro TV and Audible that have been with us for more than 10 years, they stick around because their ads work. And honestly, isn't that why you're buying advertising? You get a lot with Twit. We have a very full service attitude. We almost think of it as kind of artisanal advertising, boutique advertising. You'll get a full service continuity team. People who are on the phone with you, who are in touch with you, who support you with everything from copywriting to graphic design. So you are not alone in this. We embed our ads into the shows. They're not added later. They're part of the shows. In fact, often they're such a part of our shows that our other hosts will chime in on the ad saying, yeah, I love that. Or just the other day, one of our hosts said, man, I really got to buy that. That's an additional benefit to you because you're hearing people our audience trusts saying, yeah, that sounds great. We always over-deliver on impressions, so you know you're going to get the impressions you expect. The ads are unique every time. We don't pre-record them and roll them in. We are genuinely doing those ads in the middle of the show. We'll give you great onboarding services. Ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. Gives you a lot of reporting, gives you a great idea of how well your ads are working. You'll get courtesy commercials. You actually can take our ads and share them across social media and landing pages. That really extends the reach. There are other free goodies too, including mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent to thousands of fans, engaged fans who really want to see this stuff. We give you bonus ads and social media promotion too. So if you want to be a long-term partner, introduce your product to a savvy, engaged tech audience. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out those testimonials. Mark McCrary is the CEO of Authentic. You probably know him, one of the biggest original podcast advertising companies. We've been with him for 16 years. Mark said the feedback from many advertisers over 16 years across a range of product categories, everything from razors to computers, is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on Twitch shows. I'm very proud of what we do because it's honest, it's got integrity, it's authentic, and it really is a great introduction to our audience of your brand. Our listeners are smart, they're engaged, they're tech savvy, they're dedicated to our network, and that's one of the reasons we only work with high integrity partners that we've personally and thoroughly vetted. I have absolute approval on everybody. If you've got a great product, I want to hear from you. Elevate your brand by reaching out today at advertise@twit.tv. Break out of the advertising norm. Grow your brand with host-read ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details, or you can email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. I can't wait to see your product, so give us a ring. Samable Samad coming up. He's driving up right now, even as we speak, in a brand new EV. He will join us in just a little bit, but let's see who's got the Joe. I called Joe Esposito. Called the other Joe Esposito. He's not. This is Joe Esposito. He's the guy who sent me the mug. Hi, Joe.
Hello. Can you hear me? Is my audio okay?
You sound great, Joe. Good. You sound as if you're using an Aphex oral exciter.
Well, okay, so I'm not, but it's interesting because you just did all this because my question is related to podcasting specifically because I've been doing a podcast for a long time.
What's your podcast?
It's called The Ozone Nightmare. It's not a great name, but it's
it's a great name.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. What's it about?
Oh, by the way, just for my wife, go San Francisco.
Oh, Giants. I was watching the Giants just the other day play the Team USA as we're getting ready for the season. Yep. Opens March 30th. Yep.
Can't wait.
Yep.
So over the years, I've been upgrading mics, and I have one called, I'm not on it now. I'm actually on a Rode. It's funny. I'm on a little Rode.
You actually sound fine. Yeah, you sound good. Yeah.
Using one of these.
Those little things. Yeah.
For this. But for my show, I use what's called an Apogee Hype mic, which has this built-in compressor, and it does 32-bit. It's supposed to be very good. But what I was wondering is, I use Audio Hijack for the recording, and I know it has some built-in mixer functions, but what I'm wondering is, do you know of a software mixer? Because I like to keep things segmented. That way, if Audio Hijack suddenly has an update that crashes it, I don't lose all that. So I'd rather have it something independent that I could switch the mic to, say, Audacity or Zoom recording or whatever, and still be able to have those EQ levels and mixing levels. And I barely know anything. I'll just admit, I'm amateur at this stuff. But I'd like to be able to have that in between the mic and whatever I'm using to record, and still be able to have those settings so that if I want to, I don't think I have the best voice in the world. So if I sweeten a little bit or do something to it, I want that to be preserved because I have a face for radio.
I think you sound great. And I think one of the things people do, and what I did when I got into radio, is just start talking like an announcer. And I still have that, unfortunately, because it's just got built into my brain. But honestly, I kind of prefer people just sound like they sound. And you got a great, are you a New Yorker, Joe, I'm guessing?
I am. I'm in California, but I am a native New Yorker.
Yeah.
Yes, people pick that up.
And,
I don't know why.
You don't want to get rid of that. I think that's what makes it authentic. And I think podcasts are great because people don't sound like announcers.
Exactly.
They sound like themselves. But you do want a microphone that's going to be honest and true to your voice. And part of the thing I always think about with a podcast is listener fatigue. So one of the reasons we pay a lot of attention to audio, and you probably notice this when you listen to other people's podcasts, if the audio is bad, there's scratch or something in there, it just fatigues you. You don't want to listen to it. I want to make shows that people are comfortable.
They can be comfortable the whole time, yeah.
Yeah, it's like wearing uncomfortable headphones. You want to wear comfortable headphones. I want them to be comfortable. So that's the thing I would worry about more than the quality of your voice. I think people can actually hurt themselves by paying attention to their vocal quality too much instead of their actual audio quality, which is what really matters. I have not tried the Hype Mic. Apogee makes great stuff, so I want to try that. Audio Hijack is not really intended to be a mixer. It's just intended to be a router. So you route stuff from here to there.
And it works great. It does that very well. That's what I mean about it. I don't want to start trying to bend it into something it's not meant for.
I think the same people make a very good mixer, as I remember.
Yeah, so they make a program called, now I'm forgetting what it's called.
That's fine. I know where their website is.
Yeah, you could head there.
It's Rogue Amoeba, yeah.
And they make several different programs, and one of them lets you not only kind of route audio exactly how you want to, but then you can filter the audio as you need to make it sound how you're hoping to. And it's got all of the built-in tools that your operating system has, and then also extra tools that they've added for EQ and normalization and all that kind of stuff.
Let me see if I can find it. Is it Airfoil is their mixer?
No, it's...
That's Eddie Audio Hijack, Fargo.
It's the one after that one, the one that's
Fission's
down the
an
bottom
editor.
left. So Loopback has the tools in it. So on top of letting you route your audio, you can also make adjustments to it with that.
So Loopback, okay. Yeah, I've never used them, but... I think it was Andy, somebody on MacBreak Weekly is very high praise for all of their stuff. Let me ask our chat room and our, because we have a lot of podcasters listening.
Oh, that's funny. All we're saying Loopback there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the Discord.
Okay.
Well, I love Audio Hijack, so I would trust
Rogue
them to
Amoeba's
try it because that's great.
On the Mac, and these are Mac apps, and on the Mac, I think Rogue Amoeba is widely considered to be the best still standing audio guy. I mean, there used to be quite a few. There used to be Bias Sound and so forth, and all of them seem to have disappeared.
It's funny because here at Twit, we have an incredible team that does so much of the stuff that we need behind the scenes.
We don't have to think about it.
We don't have to, but I'm on other podcasts outside of the network, and we are all using Audio Hijack. We're all using Rogue Amoeba's tools for everything that we do. We're all recording with it and using Loopback to do what we need to do. So yes, I can vouch for that essentially.
I'm the team because it's me and my co-host who used to eat popcorn on the show, and I'm like,
stop. I didn't know this, but we're using Loopback right now to route our audio. The Zoom audio is routed through Loopback. The other thing I would look at, it's probably overkill, but Apple makes an excellent DAW, digital audio workstation called Logic. And it's not expensive. It's $200 for what you get. It's amazing. And I think Jason Snell uses Logic. A lot of very serious pro podcasters use Logic. It does a whole lot more. I mean, it's really designed for music, album, song creation. But for that price, it's pretty good. For years, when I was doing the editing, so you know how long ago that was, I started using Cool Edit Pro. Everybody in radio used Cool Edit Pro. Adobe bought it and turned it into a program called Adobe Audition. That's really more for editing. It's not so much of a mixer, but it's really a superb product. We still use that as well because we use the whole Adobe Creative Cloud for our editing, Premiere and all of that. But for mixing,
I don't mind for spending a little bit of money. That's okay. I don't mind patching pieces because I still use Audacity for editing. And honestly, it's just a two-person thing.
Yeah.
And we're not doing music or anything too complicated. We have an intro and an outro, but it's mostly just me and my co-host babbling for a couple hours. So it's perfectly fine for that.
Okay.
But like I said, I like my audio to be as clean as possible because that's the only thing I can really contribute. I don't have much else that I can do. So that was my question on that.
Yeah, I think between a good microphone and the audio tools that don't get in the way. Those two things can come together to make what you need there.
Loopback sounds like a good option. That sounds like
check out Loopback.
Yeah.
And I would also say, paying attention to whoever's doing the editing afterward, paying attention to background noise and things like that might be there, trying to limit that as much as possible is great. Because as Leo was talking about that moment where someone's listening and then they realize, wow, it's actually kind of grating on my ears after a while because of, you just want them to be comfortable as they're listening.
Comfort. Raymond Toth in our IRC is saying a program called Voice Meter from VB-Audio Software. I'm going to guess this is more Windows. Maybe it's Mac.
That's fine too, because I'm on both platforms.
Okay.
So I like having backups. So that way, if the Mac goes out for some reason,
so this is
unlikely,
this is exactly a mixer. It does some of the same things Audio Hijack does because it's got a virtual audio device that you can mix with Voice Meter. It looks like it's free to try. So thank you, Ray. Okay. That's a good choice as well from vb-audio.com. Voice Meter. I bet they're the Windows.
Lots of good options.
The Windows guys that do the Rogue Amoeba stuff. They're Windows focused. It can route and mix. Yeah. Thanks, Raymond. And thank you, Joe. It's great to meet you. Thank you for the mug, by the way.
You're welcome.
Show us yours. Yeah. I think that's Anthony's. We think that's Anthony Nielsen's design. Yeah, it's a good looking mug.
I just took that and kind of blew it up and wrapped it around. So
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful life.
It's a wonderful life.
It's a wonderful life. So I don't know. We were thinking that by now we would have a visit from our car guy, Samable Samad. He is driving up, and I think he probably got caught in a flood on the way up here. So he's not here, but that's good. That gives us a chance to take some more of your calls. What do you say? Should we? Yeah. There's a lot of excitement in the Zoom. Should we do Mike in Bonnie Lake, Washington?
Oh, Bonnie Lake.
Oh, Bonnie Lake. The hills are calling.
Thank you.
I shouldn't sing. Hello. He's in a car. The only reason I like seeing people in the car. Hi, Mike. Can you hear us? Can you see us?
Oh gosh almighty. I can hear you and I can see you.
See, it works.
Excellent.
And I'm on Zoom and I'm calling in for the very first time to my hero, the tech guy, Leo Laporte.
Oh, nice.
They call me Mike. Yeah, they call me Mike, the tech guy around here.
Nice.
And I've tried to call before, and this is a first. So
Yay.
The question is, So the question is, when I need to find a file on my Windows computer, I go to so if it's Windows 10 or 11, I go to this PC, and I go to the hard drive that I know the file's on, and there's a search box in the upper right-hand corner, and I type in a portion of the file name or the .xls if it's and it starts searching, and it sometimes takes forever. My question is there a better way to do it quicker, or is it just a limitation on how it's searching the hard drive and or the virtual kind of server share? So if I got it on Google Drive or
so you're saying not just stuff that's on the physical hard drive, but you want cloud search as well?
Well, I always used to only have it on the computer hard drive, but now as I've progressed in my technology brain, I have OneDrive, I have Microsoft's drive, I don't know what's that called, iDrive.
So that does slow it down, obviously. Yeah.
Well, and those kind of virtual drives, including iDrive and other backups, kind of magically got hooked up on their own. So if I make a new file,
it saves it up. Yes, it saves it up to OneDrive. Yeah.
Well, and it kind of seems like it goes a bunch of different places.
Oh no!
So it's a little bit kind of sadistic in background.
Well, let me show you. I've got File Explorer open right now. I think there's something wrong with your system. Now, pay attention to the road. But when I start typing, so I just typed a 6. You saw how fast that came up. It does the first few characters. It doesn't take much time. Remember that when you first set up Windows, it's slow because it's indexing. Yeah. So that's one thing. I'd make sure that your indexing service is running. Yeah. Right. So that's in the services. You know, you do Windows key X, and you'll see you can look at all the services that are running. And I would make sure that you didn't accidentally stop that, because that's supposed to make it much faster. Now, the cloud might be different. I'm not sure exactly. That's going to slow it down, but it should still show up something almost right away. The first letter I type, it shows up something. Yeah. So I'll type an H, and it's almost immediately showing something on here. So, and by the way, it's searching into files as well, because you see, I'm getting files that don't have an H in the file name, but there's an H in the contents, and that's almost instant. So first thing I do is look at your services, make sure the indexing service is turned on. Sometimes people get impatient. It slows your machine down when you first set it up, and they might disable it. But if you do that, then you're going to be impatient for the rest of the day.
I should turn that indexing on in background and get it done now in the next couple of days.
It should always be on. It should never turn off.
Yeah, you want that to be on, always running, and it'll occasionally check again and update what the files are. The other thing that could be slowing things down is if you are connecting to, a cloud server somewhere, then of course the internet connection is going to be part of what could be slowing it down. But it should be showing those local results a lot faster than it sounds like it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what the lag is, and if it's not fully indexed, that would do it. Yeah.
On another subject, you talked about Eero as the mesh router system, that you prefer. Mm-hmm. I bought a new house up here in Bonnie Lake, and the builder, thank you, and the builder put in Eero up in the ceilings. It's got power over IP, which is a term I never heard about before.
Yep.
So it's got a Ring doorbell, power over IP. It's got a couple Eeros in the ceiling.
Yep.
I went to change out the switch because I needed to add some more ports. It took something called an injector. Have you heard of an injector?
So it's called power over Ethernet, PoE.
Okay.
And the idea is you've got an Ethernet connector, which you need for data, but it also carries power. And so you don't have to plug it in. But if your devices, the device you're connecting to doesn't provide power over Ethernet, you need something called a PoE injector, which plugs into the wall.
Injector.
Yeah, the injector is putting power in over the Ethernet. So don't disconnect the injector, or all of the other stuff is going to die because it's not getting power anymore.
Well, so back to the tech guy, Leo. I've been listening to you forever on Cairo.
Nice.
Here, and then KFI via the internet.
Love Cairo. Yep.
But I never heard you talk about a switch that was also an injector.
They make
them.
That
was a brand new.
They do make them.
Yeah, and it came in the panel that came with the house. But as I said, I needed some more wired ports. I bought a 8-port switch that was, after the fact, it was not an injector.
It needs to be PoE.
And my things quit working.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I don't know that you've ever talked about PoE, have you?
Probably not. There's about 1,000,001 subjects I could talk about. This one never came up, I guess. This is a PoE injector I've got right here. You see it plugs into the wall, and then the other side's Ethernet. And so it says data and power out on this one. So this has electricity over the Ethernet. That's PoE or power over Ethernet. So just get a switch that says PoE built in. It supports PoE.
I did, and I got on. Yeah, but back to the Eero, it came with the house. I'm sure Amazon gave them those devices at a low fee, because now they've got me, I'll say, pregnant, with that device, and I pay the annual fee just like alimony. And
you don't have to. You don't have to, as we talked about earlier.
No, but it gives you some things.
You might want it.
It gives you some. But it's a great way for these builders to put that in. And now I'm going to buy a house in Phoenix, and I'm going to put in an Eero down there. So
there were a number of builders that made announcements with Amazon that they would have Echo-enabled houses, and I'm guessing Eero one came along with this.
And Ring.
kind of the
And the
big
Ring doorbell.
and the Ring thing. The big developers do deals with Amazon, and you're right.
Yeah.
Amazon probably gives them a discount and so forth. The only reason I don't like that is it's hard to upgrade now, right? So when Eero comes up with a new system, you're kind of got to go open up the ceiling and put the new system in there, and that's kind of a pain.
Well, I can drop it down, I can drop it down. You know, it's in a box in the ceiling, so I get up on my ladder.
So you can
and
get
I
it. They made it
down.
accessible. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, hey, this is a real thrill to talk to you.
Thanks,
on
Mike.
the video, driving, and
Where are you right now?
And I'm up in a Trilogy property at Bonnie Lake, Washington. 55 and over, all 1 floor, no yard work, all brand new hose, brand new sewers. You know, everything's brand new.
I'm moving in. Come
on up. We're at about 900 feet and it snows. And so anyway, it's real. So I hope this new model for the business works for you, because I'm gonna sign up as a P1 right now. So
there you go.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. It's so great to talk to you. I'm glad you finally got through. See, this is the beauty of it. We don't need to have a radio station. We can talk to the whole world over the internet. It's a miracle.
The internet is amazing.
It's a miracle. As long as we're talking to Mike, why don't we talk to Michael? We'll just keep it through this show. It'll be Micah, Michael, the whole thing.
It's all very confusing.
Yeah. Michael, I welcome you to Ask the Tech Guys.
Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound really good, actually.
Right.
Oh, you look at the size of that microphone. There you go. That's a good mic.
So loving the new format of the show.
Yeah, we like it too. Good. I'm glad to hear it. It's not quite as smooth maybe as a radio show, but then
it's like 80s morning radio. It's awesome.
I just need Robin Quivers and we'll be set, right?
Yeah, like Larry Lujack and Snot-Nosed Tommy, his great sidekick back in the day.
Is that Chicago? That's Chicago.
Yeah. 70s, 80s. So two questions for you. One is it's a Raspberry Pi Plex question.
Okay.
I have my Plex server running on a Raspberry Pi. I think it's a 3, hardwired with a spinning USB terabyte drive.
Okay.
I recently bought a little Samsung solid state terabyte drive, and I'm trying to figure out a use for it. And I'm wondering if there would be any kind of the performance is not bad. It's like 4 seconds for something to load up.
Yeah.
Wondering if I would see any speed improvement with a solid state drive as opposed to
the problem with solid state is depends what you're using. They can get thrashed in an environment like that. Depends what you're using it for. But solid state's always faster than spinning. What are you using it? What's the use case? How are you doing it? Is it a backup?
No, it would be for the my Plex server. The media would be the solid state drive.
Okay. The nice thing about Plex is actually pretty good because it'll load in big chunks, so it's not going to thrash the drive. It loads a big chunk of the video and then plays it and then loads another big chunk. So I think for Plex, spinning is fine.
Okay.
You're not going to benefit from the speed.
Okay.
Where Plex benefits from is a processor, because it's re-encoding the video often before it's serving it. So a faster processor can make a bigger difference in Plex. Speed is not good. The drive speed is not going to be an issue.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Also just in terms of the caller earlier, I use Loopback. I've been podcasting on and off since like 2008.
Oh, nice.
And I used to have a mixer, but I moved everything into software. And what Loopback is really great for is routing audio. So if I have my sound card, if I have something on Spotify I want to play, I put that all together with this microphone. That becomes the input that goes into Zoom. So everybody in the Zoom call, it's like mix minus without having to worry about the wires and the mixer itself.
The reason we have such a fancy
things like that
setup here is because I was so suffering back in 2007 with mix minus on an analog board that Kirk Harnack of the Telos company saw me. He was watching. He said, "I can't take it."
Then you had a headset around your neck.
Oh, the worst. It was. Wow. You remember this? Yeah, it was terrible.
That's how I got into podcasting.
Oh, nice.
And I thought I'd like to do this myself.
Yeah, I'd like to be crazy like Leah. So Kirk contacted us, and Telos arranged for a complete Axia digital audio system that does mix minus automatically, and it saved my life. And we're still using it, although they're getting their money's worth because we just had to buy a $24,000 replacement mixer.
NBD.
Stick with Loopback. You're much better off.
Yeah.
What's your podcast? Tell us about your...
Opera Now. I called you many years ago.
Opera Now?
Opera Now. Opera Now Podcast is the website. And again, we started, I think, in October 2008. And it's kind of fallen on and off. Yeah, it's fallen on and off over the years. But we started up again during the pandemic because, everybody and his brother I saw was doing a podcast. So I thought it's time for us to come back. The audience needs us.
You've done 295 shows. That's pretty dang good.
Yeah, it's been since 2008. That's the problem.
That's all right. That's all right. There's no, you know what? Keep going. Keep going. And now a whole lot. Now you got it because a whole bunch of people now are going to go to operanowpodcast.com and they're going to sign up.
One other quick thing, too, if you don't mind. It's not a plug, but it's kind of a call to arms to the Twit Army out there.
Yes.
I know you guys have a lot of sophisticated listeners. So I was an opera singer before, and then I got into executive search. I've been doing it for about 12 years. The last 5, I've been focusing on product and tech roles. And I work in-house for a very large, I'll even plug it. You can find it. I work for internet brands. So like a WebMD, a Medscape, Martindale. And I am looking and banging my head looking for a senior cybersecurity Linux administrator.
A senior, we talk about this in the ads for ACI Learning all the time.
Yep.
There are last time I checked, 1.4 million open jobs for cybersecurity people. There's so much need and there's so few people. So if anybody watching is, and where would they have to work?
So it would have to be in the LA area because we want like a 3-day week hybrid. But it's working for our VP of IT, who is a known real Linux head. He just spotted an Android vulnerability years ago.
Nice.
So we want the person to be in there 3 days a week because this person is going to really, really learn a lot.
And how should they contact you if they are a senior?
I don't mind giving an email address. That's fine if that's okay with you.
Sure, yeah.
It's michael.rice@internetbrands.com.
michael.rice@internetbrands.com.
I may get a few Baba Booey emails, but I don't care. It could be or a Snoogans if you're a Kevin Smith fan, but that's fine. I wouldn't mind getting them.
Snoogans! And particularly looking for a cybersecurity professional with Linux, senior Linux cybersecurity professional.
And on-prem is our big thing, too. It's because the big problem is a lot of these people
are remote.
Maybe they were doing it up until 2017, but on-prem in terms of the servers, it's not cloud. A lot of these people have moved on to AWS or Azure or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so the servers are on-prem. So actually, that's more fun.
Containerization. Yeah. If we want somebody who wants to keep doing that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And again, it's a good opportunity. Pay is good. I won't say more than that, but I thought this would be a great place to kind of get the word out there.
Can I ask you one question though? I'm looking at your website. Do you actually talk about opera on this show?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We are all very experienced, but it definitely is a kind of a sideways glance at it.
Okay. It's not. It says it's the latest opera news, but it looks basically on your illustrations like you talk about a lot of different things.
We do. It's a humorous bent for sure.
I like it. I like it. Hey, that's great. It's nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you so much for calling. I hope we can find somebody for your opening.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah. I'll look and put in the promo code TWIT in the subject line. So
I don't want a commission. Just the warm feeling of knowing I have helped you. Yeah, exactly.
I'll be sure to update you if anything comes of it.
Hey, let me know. Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Absolutely.
Have a great one.
Gentlemen.
The twig of opera. I like that.
The twig of opera. Yeah, twig is no longer about Google, is it? I shouldn't be the guy who says
your show doesn't look like it's about this.
Yeah. Why do you call it opera now? There's no opera. Why do you call it This Week in Google? Everybody says we should rename This Week in Google.
Really?
Yeah, this week it was This Week in Pop Screens. But you should listen. You will know what I'm talking about. So bad news. Sam had missed his plane.
Yes, delayed.
So he is delayed.
To rain, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
So we won't get him on the show this week, but I really want to see this new Ionic. We'll get his review maybe next week, maybe at another date. But I am so glad you could be here for the show.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you we'll take care of some business, and then we'll start breaking down and getting ready for This Week in Tech, which is coming up on most of these same internet stations in moments. We didn't even get to our videos. I forgot we had 3 videos. Oh, man. We'll have to do them next week. Email us, askthetechguys@twit.tv, and send us some video questions. I completely forgot. I feel that's my fault.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, this is the thing. This show is a variety show. It's got a lot going on, and we can only get to so much every week.
Yeah.
But the good thing about those video calls is
they
that
last
they're forever.
They're here. We'll do them next week. So thank you for those. If you want to send more, askthetechguys@twit.tv. Of course, we take our calls via Zoom. We're still working on the idea of a phone number.
Yes. By next week, we will have some more information about that. So we may have a phone number soon.
But I like the Zoom because we get to see you.
Yeah, that's fun.
See your lightsaber. Call.twit.tv. That'll continue to be the Zoom call number. If you want to watch the show live, in fact, really, if you're going to call in, you probably have to watch the show live. We do it every Sunday morning. It's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. our time, which is 2 to 5 p.m. East Coast time. Our time is Pacific, so 2 to 5 East Coast time, and that is 1800 UTC. So you can figure that out. If you're watching live, and the live stream is at live.twit.tv, it's live audio or video, so you can choose. Chat live at irc.twit.tv. Of course, Club Twit members get special chat experience in our Discord. After the fact, the show's available at the website. Just easy to remember. TechGuyLabs.com still works, but I think eventually that's going to go away. So twit.tv/ATG. Keep that in mind. Twit.tv/ATG for Ask Tech Guys. Ask Tech Guy. Ask Tech Guys.
Ask Tech Guys.
Ask Tech Guys. ATG. Could be 2 Ds, but you know what? 1 T's enough. ATG. After the fact, that's the website. But you can also watch on YouTube because we have a special YouTube channel with all the shows since we do video. And you can subscribe audio or video in your favorite podcast client. You'll get it automatically the minute it's available. Mikah Sargent does other shows every Tuesday. He does a fabulous show, iOS Today with Rosemary Orchard. She's wonderful. She uses her exercise equipment, I understand. I've been told. That's Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, right before Mac Break Weekly. Also, Tech News Weekly at noon on Thursdays with Jason Howell. This week, I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about. It's going to be an exciting week in tech.
Yes, indeed.
And, of course, you can catch all of us in our Twit forums at twit.community, on our Mastodon at twit.social, in the Discord for Twit members, and, of course, our IRC. Anything you wanted to mention?
Just please subscribe to the club so you can see Hands on Mac, because I'm doing that every week,
show.
And it'd be great to have you there in the club hanging out with us.
I guess that's it for Ask the Tech Guys for this week. Watch the Oscars tonight. We'll talk about it next week. Sorry if you called and I didn't get to your calls. We apologize. If we didn't get to your videos, I'm sorry. We'll be back next week
in time.
For more Ask the Tech Guys. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I'm the host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.